if you don't listen to me, we're getting a divorce. I can't stay married to someone who says such selfish things. I accept the divorce, even though my husband is acting smart and doesn't know what's coming next. My name is Emily. I've been married for 5 years, and I'm 35. It's just me and my husband. We've wanted children but haven't been able to have any yet. We thought about fertility treatments, but my husband didn't want to go through with it, so we left it to chance. If we don't have kids, it would just be us. After we got married, both of my husband's parents passed away, and we didn't have time for treatments. My husband is quite controlling. At work, he was a senior and often called me his foolish wife in front of others. He scolded me harshly if I made a mistake. This behavior didn't change after we got married. Though he seems like a bad person, he does have a gentle side. He gave me good advice when I was his subordinate and helped me when I was feeling down after my grandfather died. That support led us to start dating and eventually marry. Since getting married, I've stopped working and become a full-time housewife. My husband usually comes home after 9 p.m. because of his job. When he gets home, I greet him and help with his clothes, but he doesn't say much. I prepare dinner, and he eats quietly. After dinner, he goes to the bathroom, and I get his towel and underwear ready. He then heads straight to bed. He's always been quiet, and recently, his new job promotion seems to have made him even more tired. We don't talk much anymore, but I still trust and love him. He was there for me when I had a tough time. I lost my father in middle school and my mother when I was in my first year of high school. After that, my grandfather took me in and raised me with a lot of love. I wanted to show my appreciation by saving money from my job, taking him on trips, and sharing good times with him. I enjoyed spending time with my grandfather and wished he could stay healthy forever. But 3 years after I started working, my grandfather passed away from lung cancer. I was left completely alone. I knew I'd have to say goodbye eventually, but I didn't expect it to be so soon. I regretted not being able to do more for him or spend more time together. I was very sad and cried every night. My then boss, who is now my husband, noticed my sadness. He was kind and listened to me, telling me I had been through a lot and did well. I felt lucky to have him as a boss. Normally strict and intimidating, he was gentle and supportive during that tough time. I know he's a kind person deep down, which is why I wanted to stay with him. One afternoon, the home phone rang. It was my husband's younger brother, who I hadn't heard from in a while. He asked to speak to my husband. I told my husband about the call, and he answered the phone with a smile. His younger brother, 15 years younger than him, is someone my husband really cares about. He's been living happily with his wife for 2 years. But when my husband's tone suddenly became serious, I knew something was wrong. After hanging up, he told me that his brother had been laid off from his job. I was shocked, as I hadn't expected this at all. My brother-in-law is very different from my husband. He's kind, calm, and respectful. He always defends me when my husband is rude and apologizes for his behavior. I have a good impression of him and his wife. I wanted to help them in any way I could. I asked my husband if there was something I could do, but he gave me a sharp look and asked what I meant by something. I suggested to my husband that we should do something to help his brother feel better. He sighed heavily and said that I wouldn't understand because I haven't been part of the working world. He told me that it wasn't my place to suggest anything, and his harsh response surprised me. I meant well, but it seemed I had upset him. I asked him if I wasn't part of the family too, but he said I was just his wife, not his brother's family. His words hurt deeply. I had never seen him act so aggressively before. His brother being laid off must have been a huge shock for him, but his harshness was unexpected. He told me not to do anything unnecessary and walked out. After that, he became even more demanding and critical of me. He complained about the meals I prepared and compared me unfavorably to his brother's wife. His unreasonable behavior was confusing, and I didn't know what had changed. One day, my husband began sorting through things and filling garbage bags. I was puzzled but didn't interface because our relationship had become so strained that I didn't have the energy to talk to him. Then he told me that we needed to start packing because we were moving out. He said he was giving the house to his brother and his wife. I was shocked and confused by his decision. My husband suddenly decided to give our house to his unemployed brother and his wife. I asked why he was doing this out of the blue, and he shouted at me to be quiet. I pointed out that giving away the house didn't solve our living situation. He insisted that, as his brother was in trouble, he needed to help him, and we would figure out where to live later. I was confused and suspicious. My brother-in-law wouldn't just take our house without question. As I was about to confront my husband, he handed me divorce papers and told me that if I was only going to argue, I was of no use to him. He demanded I leave immediately. I was shocked by his sudden decision, but felt it might be for the best. I picked up the divorce papers and signed them. My husband watched me with a smug smile, which almost made me laugh at how absurd he looked. After signing, I reminded him that the house wasn't his to give away. It was my house, inherited from my grandfather. My husband was stunned. I explained that he had moved into my house before we were married because he didn't want to pay rent, and I've been paying the property taxes ever since. He had never contributed anything. My husband seemed flustered and said it didn't matter since we would soon be divorced. I told him that his behavior was unbelievable and selfish, and we needed to calm down. I let all my frustrations out on my husband. I loved him and thought he loved me too, but maybe I was wrong. I never expected our marriage to end so quickly. Emily, wait, this is a misunderstanding. Let's talk, he said. Talk about what? You were the one who wanted a divorce, I replied. I carefully put away the filled-out divorce papers, planning to submit them first thing tomorrow morning. My husband lay on the floor, dazed, and muttered, "No, this can't be happening." I told him coldly that this was my house and he needed to leave immediately. Once the papers were filed, we would be strangers. I felt no sympathy for him. Even when he cried and clung to me, he eventually left, resigned to his fate. The news of our divorce spread quickly at his work, and he was immediately looked down upon. Rumors about our divorce and his behavior during our marriage circulated widely. It seemed he had lost his standing at his company. I wondered who spread those rumors, but all I did was answer questions from his colleagues and subordinates. About 6 months after the divorce, I ran into someone I hoped not to see while leaving a real estate agency. My ex-husband. It seemed he had been waiting for me outside the agency. The situation was unsettling, and even when I tried to ignore him, he followed me persistently. Frustrated, I agreed to talk. Enough. If you have something to say, just say it, I told him. Emily, I've always despised you, he said. His sudden claim left me confused. He said he had been blaming me for his brother's job loss. Why would it be my fault? I asked. Since we got married, he said only bad things happened, like his parents dying and his injury. But his father was already sick before we married, and his mother was frail. His injury was due to his own clumsiness when he got drunk and fell. Despite this, he believed I was responsible for all his misfortunes. So you think I'm the cause of all your problems and that's why you hated me? I said. I always thought you were just awkward, but you actually despised me. I was frustrated with his refusal to take responsibility and his constant blaming of others. I couldn't believe someone like him could be a supervisor. I worried about his subordinates who might be unfairly criticized. He continued to tell me about his misfortunes even after our divorce. He showed me burns from a recent fire that destroyed his apartment, and he mentioned losing his wallet, making mistakes at work, and his brother's coldness towards him. Honestly, I don't feel sorry for you, I said. These are the results of your own actions. I have nothing to do with them. Please, Emily, come back to me, he begged. We've been together for so long. I took care of things when you were working and helped you when your grandfather died. Looking at him, trying to guilt-trip me, made me shiver. All your problems come from your own actions. Maybe you should look at yourself and stop blaming others. With that, I walked away, ignoring his desperate calls. My ex-husband was calling out to me, trying to get my attention, but I ignored him and blended into the crowd. About a week after our divorce, I got a call from my former brother-in-law. "Emily, well, you're not my sister-in-law anymore," he said. "I'm sorry, but I wanted to talk about my brother." He explained that the decision to give the house to his brother was made by my ex-husband alone. His wife and he had no idea about it. My former brother-in-law said he and his wife felt sorry for how my ex-husband treated me, and he thought it was good that we divorced. He wished me happiness. I thanked him, and he told me he found a job and was managing to get by. I was happy for him. He mentioned he planned to distance himself from his brother, which is why my ex-husband couldn't reach him. And now, my ex-husband, who had lost his wife and was estranged from his younger brother, was truly alone. I hoped he would understand the consequences of his mistakes, but for now, I needed to completely cut him out of my life. On the day I ran into my ex-husband, I had just signed a contract to rent out the house I inherited from my grandfather. It was too big for me, but I couldn't let go of the house full of memories. I preferred to have someone who wanted to live there. I decided to change my phone number, move, and completely sever ties with my ex-husband. At 35, I still have a long life ahead of me.
I was folding laundry when my parents issued the ultimatum that would destroy our family. Funny how life-shattering moments can arrive so quietly, wrapped in the mundane task of matching socks. My name is Tessa, and at 26, I never expected to be paying rent to sleep in my childhood bedroom. But there I was, sitting cross-legged on my narrow twin bed, while my mother Quinn stood in the doorway with that particular smile she reserves for uncomfortable conversations. "We need to discuss the new living arrangements," she said, gesturing for my father Wilson to join her. He shuffled in behind her, avoiding my eyes. "Now that Christian and Angela are married, things need to change." I set down the half-folded t-shirt in my lap. "What kind of changes?" "Well, they'll be taking the master bedroom, of course. Your father and I are moving to the guest suite downstairs, and—" She paused, her smile tightening. "We think it's time you started contributing properly." "Contributing?" I echoed, though I already knew where this was heading. My stomach dropped as I thought about the utility bills I'd been quietly paying for the past 3 years, the groceries I bought weekly, the home repairs I'd funded without complaint. "Rent," my father finally spoke, still not meeting my gaze. $800 a month, starting next month." The laundry basket tipped as I stood up, spilling clean clothes onto the floor. $800? For this? I gestured around my childhood bedroom, barely big enough for a desk and dresser. The walls still wore the pale yellow paint I'd chosen at 13. "It's more than fair," my mother insisted. "Angela's family thinks we're being too generous, actually. Most young people your age have their own places by now." "Most young people weren't told their whole lives that this house would always be their home," I countered, keeping my voice steady despite the tremor in my hands. "And most young people's parents don't give their master bedroom to their golden child while charging their daughter rent." A sharp knock interrupted us. Christian appeared in the doorway, his new wife Angela hovering behind him with that sweet, vacant smile that never quite reached her eyes. "Everything okay in here?" he asked, though his tone suggested he knew exactly what was happening. "Mom, did you tell her about the renovation plans, too?" "Renovation plans?" I felt my chest tighten. "Oh, yes," Angela chimed in, stepping forward. "We're thinking of expanding the master suite. Nothing major, just taking down a wall or two. We'll need everyone to chip in, of course. Family project and all that." I looked at each of their faces, my mother's determined smile, my father's averted gaze, Christian's casual entitlement, Angela's calculated innocence. Something inside me shifted like a gear finally clicking into place. "Let me get this straight," I said, my voice coming out cooler than I expected. "You want me to pay rent for my childhood bedroom, which is basically a closet, while also contributing to renovations that will make my brother's space bigger?" "Don't be dramatic, Tessa," Christian sighed. "It's about family. You've always been so difficult about these things." "Difficult?" I laughed, but there was no humor in it. "I've been paying the utilities since I got my first real job. I buy groceries every week. I paid for the new water heater last winter when it broke. Where were your contributions, Christian? The room went silent. My mother's smile faltered for just a moment before she recovered. That was your choice, dear. Nobody asked you to do those things. No, I agreed quietly. Nobody ever asks me. They just expect. I turned away from them, facing the window I'd looked out of for 26 years. The maple tree outside had grown so tall, its branches now scraped against the glass. I'd grown too, though somehow they hadn't noticed. I'll have my answer about the rent by tomorrow, I said finally, not turning around. Now, if you'll excuse me, I need to finish my laundry. They filed out one by one, my mother pausing at the door. We're only trying to be fair, Tessa. Everyone needs to do their part. After they left, I sat back down on my bed, surrounded by scattered laundry and 2 decades of memories. My hand brushed against something under my pillow, an old photograph of my grandmother Mary, taken at her sister's funeral years ago. I barely remembered that day, except for the strange paperwork she'd had me sign, insisting it was just in case. Looking at her shrewd eyes in the photograph, I wondered if she'd somehow seen this coming. If she'd known that one day I'd need more than memories to protect myself from my own family. I picked up my phone and texted my friend Sebastian. Need legal advice. How soon can you meet? Sebastian's coffee had gone cold by the time I finished laying out every bill, receipt, and bank statement from the past 3 years. The cafe buzzed around us, but we sat in our own bubble of spreadsheets and mounting frustration. So let me get this straight, he said, tapping his pen against the table. You've basically been their unofficial property manager since 2020? I nodded, pushing another stack of papers toward him. Water heater, property taxes, utilities, groceries. I even paid for the roof repair last spring when that storm hit. And Christian contributed nothing? Unless you count his winning personality. I tried to smile, but couldn't quite manage it. Mom always said he was focusing on his career. Meanwhile, I was just being helpful because I lived there. Sebastian leaned back, his paralegal instincts clearly kicking in. You know this isn't normal, right? Parents don't usually make one kid pay for everything while giving another the master bedroom. Try telling them that. I pulled out my phone, showing him the latest text from my mother. Don't forget, rent starts next month. Angela's father knows a contractor for the renovation estimates. Jesus, Sebastian muttered. They're really going all in on this, aren't they? The waitress stopped by to refill our coffees, and I waited until she left before continuing. You want to know the worst part? Last night, Angela called me the basement tenant at dinner, like it was some kind of joke. What did your parents say? They laughed. I wrapped my hands around the warm mug, trying to stop them from shaking. Even Dad, who hasn't said more than 2 words about this whole situation. Sebastian started organizing the papers into neat piles, his face thoughtful. You know, this reminds me of something. Didn't you mention signing some papers for your grandmother years ago, at her sister's funeral? The memory hit me like a splash of cold water. Yes, but I barely remember it. I was 19, upset about Aunt Prudence dying. Grandma Mary pulled me aside after the service, had me sign something, said it was insurance for the future. Do you still have those papers? I shook my head. They're probably in her old files somewhere. Mom boxed everything up after she died. Find them, Sebastian said firmly. Your grandmother was sharp as a tack until the end. She wouldn't have made you sign something without a reason. My phone buzzed again. This time it was Christian. Angela's picking out paint colors for the renovation. Mom says you need to confirm the rent arrangement today. They're not even pretending anymore, I said, showing Sebastian the message. It's like they think they can just erase me from my own home. Then don't let them. Sebastian's voice took on an edge I rarely heard. Stop paying their bills, start documenting everything, and find those papers from your grandmother. But they're family, I whispered, hating how small my voice sounded. Family doesn't treat family like an ATM, he countered. Look, I've seen this before. People take advantage because they think you'll never stand up to them. Prove them wrong. I stared at the piles of receipts. Years of silent contributions spread out before me. Where do I even start? The attic, Sebastian said, already pulling out his laptop. That's where people usually store important documents. I'll draft a formal request for any paperwork related to your grandmother's estate. In the meantime, don't agree to anything. Don't sign anything. And most importantly, don't let them guilt you into backing down. As if on cue, my phone lit up with a call from my mother. I let it go to voicemail. What if I find something? I asked. What if Grandma Mary really did leave me some kind of insurance? Sebastian's eyes met mine. Then you use it, because something tells me that's exactly what she wanted you to do. I gathered the papers, my mind already racing to the dusty boxes in our attic. Before I could leave, Sebastian grabbed my arm. Tessa, wait. Remember what your grandmother used to say about your Aunt Prudence? How the family pushed her out too? I nodded slowly. She said Prudence wasn't the black sheep. She was just the first one to stop playing their game. Maybe it's time you stopped playing too. Walking home, I thought about Aunt Prudence, about Grandma Mary, about all the quiet women in my family who'd eventually had enough. The house loomed ahead of me, and through the window I could see Angela directing movers who were already rearranging the master bedroom. My phone buzzed one final time. Angela, don't forget, basement tenant rent is due on the 1st. I looked up at the attic window and made my decision. It was time to find those papers. The attic was a maze of cardboard boxes and forgotten furniture, thick with dust and decades of family secrets. I waited until everyone was asleep before climbing up, armed with a flashlight and determination. My grandmother's belongings had to be here somewhere. 3 hours of searching yielded nothing but sneezing fits and cobwebs until I spotted it. A metal filing cabinet tucked behind Dad's old rowing machine. The drawer stuck at first, protesting with a screech that made me freeze, listening for movement downstairs. Inside, organized with my grandmother's characteristic precision, were dozens of manila folders, birth certificates, tax returns. And there, labeled simply House, was what I'd been looking for. My hands trembled as I pulled out the deed. The first page looked standard enough, but as I flipped through, my heart stopped. There it was, in black and white, my name, listed as holding 1/4 ownership of the property. My phone was in my hand before I could think. Despite the late hour, Sebastian answered on the second ring. I found it, I whispered, trying to keep my voice down. Sebastian, I own part of the house. Grandma Mary left me a quarter share when she died. Send me pictures, every page. He sounded wide awake now. And Tessa, don't tell your family yet. I heard rustling as he got out of bed, probably heading for his laptop. While I carefully photographed each document, my mind raced. Why hadn't anyone told me about this? How long had they known? Got them, Sebastian said after a moment. Tessa, this is legally binding. Your grandmother knew exactly what she was doing. The clause is airtight. What does it mean? It means you're not a tenant. You're an owner. They can't charge you rent, and... He paused, and I could hear him typing. You have the right to force a sale if the other owners won't buy you out. The flashlight beam shook as the implications hit me. I could make them sell the house? Yes, and given current market value, your quarter share would be worth, more typing, around $200,000. I sat down hard on an old trunk, disturbing a cloud of dust. Below me I heard footsteps, someone getting a midnight snack. Probably Christian. He always raided the fridge after midnight. There's more, Sebastian continued. There's a letter here, attached to the deed. It's addressed to you. I shuffled through the papers until I found it, an envelope with my name in my grandmother's elegant handwriting. Inside was a single page. Dearest Tessa, if you're reading this, then they finally pushed too far. Your Aunt Prudence faced the same battle, family loyalty used as a chain, not a bond. I couldn't help her then, but I can help you now. This house is your heritage as much as theirs. Use this truth wisely, but use it if you must. Sometimes love means standing your ground. All my faith, Grandma Mary. She knew, I whispered into the phone. She knew they'd do this. What are you going to do? Sebastian asked quietly. Before I could answer, the attic door creaked open. Light spilled up the stairs, and Angela's voice drifted up. Tessa, what are you doing up there? I shoved the papers into my jacket. Just looking for some old photos, I called down, trying to sound casual. Can't sleep. Well, keep it down. Some of us have to be up early to meet the contractor. Her footsteps retreated, but her message was clear. This wasn't my space anymore either. Sebastian? I whispered once I was sure she was gone. How quickly can we file the paperwork? I can have it ready by morning. But Tessa, once we do this, there's no going back. They'll know you know. I thought about my tiny bedroom, about Angela's smirking comments, about years of being the family ATM, about my grandmother writing this letter years ago, giving me an escape route she knew I'd eventually need. Good, I said, surprised by the steel in my voice. Let them know. Come to my office first thing. We'll need to move fast before they can try to counter it. I crept back downstairs, the documents secure against my chest. As I passed the master bedroom, I heard Christian and Angela laughing, probably planning their renovation. Down the hall, my parents' door was closed. They'd never even noticed I was awake. Back in my room, I pulled out the letter again. My grandmother's words seemed to glow in the darkness. Sometimes love means standing your ground. I texted Sebastian one last time. See you at 8 a.m. Time to show them what the basement tenant can do. Then I lay back on my childhood bed, listening to the house creak and settle, knowing it would never sound quite the same again. Tomorrow, everything would change. Tomorrow, I'd stop being the quiet one who paid the bills and kept the peace. Tomorrow, I'd become my grandmother's granddaughter. The timing was perfect. Angela had dragged my entire family to her parents' lake house for the weekend, insisting they all needed to discuss renovation plans. I'd claimed a work emergency to stay behind. They didn't even question it. The reliable daughter, always working, always making excuses, if they only knew. Everything's filed, Sebastian said, watching me pack the last box into my car. The notice will be delivered Monday morning. Are you sure about this? I closed the trunk, trying not to think about how 26 years of life fit into just 6 cardboard boxes. They're at the lake house until tomorrow night. By the time they get back, I'll be gone. And the note? I patted my jacket pocket, feeling the envelope inside. Short and sweet, just like we discussed. Sebastian helped me do one final sweep of my room. It looked strange empty, smaller somehow, with the pale rectangles on the walls where my photos used to hang. I'd left the furniture. It wasn't worth taking. What about your grandmother's things? He asked as I lingered in the doorway. Already moved them to a storage unit, I said. Along with Aunt Prudence's old letters. I'm not leaving anything they can use against me. Downstairs, I took my time walking through each room. The kitchen where I'd cooked countless family meals. The living room where I'd watched Christian open Christmas presents while I got practical gifts like grocery store gift cards. The dining room where just days ago they'd demanded rent from their own daughter. You don't have to leave the key, Sebastian reminded me. Legally, you're still an owner. I placed it on the counter anyway, next to my note. I want them to know this was my choice. The note was simple. I found my own sense of fairness. TPS. Check your mail Monday. We drove to my new apartment across town, a small but sunny one-bedroom I'd secretly rented last week. Sebastian helped me carry the boxes up, neither of us talking much. The reality of what I'd just done was starting to sink in. What time is it? I asked, setting down the last box. He checked his phone. Just past 3. They won't be back until tomorrow evening. Good. I pulled out my phone and opened my banking app. Time for phase 2. One by one, I canceled every automatic payment I'd been making for the house. Utilities, insurance, the cleaning service I'd hired for Mom, the lawn care subscription, the Netflix account they all used, everything. They're going to lose their minds, Sebastian said, watching me work. They're going to have to learn to pay their own bills, I corrected, just like real adults. My phone buzzed, a text from Angela. The contractor's estimate came in. Your share of the renovation will be $15,000. We'll need it by next week to start work. I showed Sebastian the message, and we both laughed. Should I tell her? I asked. Let the legal notice do the talking. I spent that evening setting up my new place, trying not to jump every time my phone buzzed. More texts from Angela about the renovation, one from Mom about the rent check. Even Dad sent his rare message, "Don't forget to mow before we get back." None of them had any idea what was coming. Around midnight, Sebastian called. It's done. The notice has been posted to their door and copies are being mailed to each of them. Official legal notification of your ownership stake and intent to force a sale if they don't buy you out at market value. I was sitting on my new balcony, watching the city lights. What happens next? They have 30 days to either buy your share or agree to sell. Given the property value and their financial situation, he paused. They'll probably have to sell. Good. Are you okay? I thought about my grandmother's letter, safely stored in my new desk, about years of being taken for granted, about Angela's smirking emoji and my brother's entitled demands. I'm better than okay, I said. I'm free. The next evening, right around the time I knew they'd be getting home, my phone exploded. Text messages, voicemails, emails. I turned it off without reading any of them. Instead, I opened my laptop and wrote an email to my grandmother's old address. Defunct now, but it felt right. Dear Grandma Mary, I finally read your letter. I finally understood what you were trying to tell me all those years ago. Thank you for giving me the key to my own freedom. They thought they were evicting me from my childhood bedroom, but in the end, I'm evicting them from my life. Love, Tessa. I hit send, knowing it would bounce back. It didn't matter. Somewhere I was sure she knew. Tomorrow would bring chaos. But tonight, in my quiet new apartment, I was just a girl who'd finally learned to stand her ground. When I finally turned my phone back on 3 days later, I had 147 text messages, 58 missed calls, and one particularly interesting email from Angela. We thought you'd never sink this low. I forwarded it to Sebastian with a single word. Really? He called immediately. Have you read any of the other messages? Not yet. I've been enjoying the silence. I was sitting at my new kitchen counter, drinking coffee I'd made myself, not having to share with anyone. How bad is it? Your mother's threatening to disown you. Your father's begging you to be reasonable. Christian. He paused. Well, Christian's showing his true colors. Let me guess. He's furious that his renovation plans are ruined? Among other things. But here's what's interesting. Angela knew about your ownership stake. The coffee cup froze halfway to my mouth. What? She slipped up in one of her rage texts. Said something about how they never thought you'd actually use the clause against family. They knew, Tessa. They knew, and they still tried to charge you rent. The betrayal hit harder than I expected. All this time, they'd known about my grandmother's gift and chosen to hide it from me, to use me. My phone buzzed again, Christian calling for the 100th time. This time, I answered. How dare you? He started before I could speak. Do you have any idea what you've done to Mom? To Angela? We had plans? Funny, I had plans too, like not being charged rent for a house I partly own. That was different. You were supposed to be the good sister, the one who helps out. Not some vindictive. Careful, I cut in, my voice ice cold. Remember who holds the cards now. Angela's family won't help us buy you out, he said, his tone shifting to something almost pleading. And we can't afford it ourselves. You're going to make us sell our home. No, Christian, I'm going to make you sell my home too, the one you tried to take from me. A new voice cut in, Angela, apparently on speakerphone. We knew you were jealous of us getting the master bedroom, but this is pathetic. I laughed, surprising myself with how genuine it sounded. Jealous? I'm not jealous, Angela. I'm just finally getting what's mine. By the way, how's that renovation estimate looking now? They both started talking at once, but I hung up. Seconds later, a text from my mother arrived. Please come home. We can discuss this as a family. I showed it to Sebastian, who'd been listening quietly. Should I respond? Only through the lawyers now, he advised. But heads up, your father's here to see you. What? I looked out my window and sure enough, Dad's car was pulling into the visitor's parking spot. How did he find my address? He came to my office first, seemed different, said he needs to talk to you alone. I watched my father get out of his car, looking older than I'd ever seen him. What do you think? I think you should hear him out, but record everything, just in case. Dad knocked softly, nothing like Mom's commanding rap or Christian's entitled pounding. When I opened the door, he looked lost, clutching a familiar-looking folder. You knew, I said, before he could speak. You knew about Grandma Mary's deed. He nodded, sinking into my offered chair. I helped her set it up. She made me promise not to tell anyone unless you found out on your own. Why? Because she knew what would happen. She saw how they treated you, how your mother favored Christian, how Angela was changing everything. He opened the folder, another copy of the deed. Mary said you needed an escape route. I never thought you'd need to use it. But you let them charge me rent, I said quietly. You watched them take advantage for years. I was a coward, he admitted, his voice breaking. I thought if I just kept the peace. But I was wrong. I failed you, Tessa. He pulled out another envelope, older, yellowed. Mary left this for when you finally stood up for yourself. I've been carrying it for years. Inside was a bank statement, a separate account, in my name, where my grandmother had been quietly depositing money. Years of birthday checks I thought I'd lost, investment returns, small inheritances, all saved for me. There's enough there for a down payment on your own house, Dad said softly. She wanted you to have a real home, not just a room they could take away. I stared at the statement, then at my father. Why are you showing me this now? Because you're stronger than I ever was, he said, standing to leave. And because Mary was right, sometimes love means standing your ground. At the door, he turned back. They're meeting with lawyers tomorrow. Don't back down, Tessa. Not this time. I won't, I promised, both to him and to my grandmother's memory. Not ever again. The mediation room felt too small for all the tension it contained. My mother sat rigid in her chair, while Christian paced behind her. Angela kept checking her phone, probably hoping her family would swoop in with a financial rescue. Dad sat apart from them, staring at his hands. Sebastian touched my arm as the mediator entered. Remember what we discussed. Let me do the talking. Can we please begin? My mother announced before anyone could speak. We're here to talk sense into my daughter. The mediator, a sharp-eyed woman named Rita, raised an eyebrow. Actually, we're here to discuss the legal partition of property ownership. Ms. Tessa has the right to... She has the right to destroy her family? Christian interrupted. To throw us out of our home? Your home? Sebastian opened his briefcase. Let's talk about that. I have here 3 years of utility payments, property tax contributions, and maintenance costs, all paid by Tessa, while you were living there rent-free. Angela scoffed. She chose to pay those. Nobody forced her. Actually, Sebastian continued, laying out documents, I have texts showing you and your husband demanding these payments, quite aggressively, in fact. The mediator reviewed the papers. And then you attempted to charge her rent for a property she partially owns? We didn't know, my mother protested. That's not true, Dad spoke up suddenly. Everyone turned to stare at him. We knew. Mary told us when she did it. We thought Tessa would never find out. The silence that followed was deafening. My mother's face went white. Wilson, what are you saying? I'm saying we took advantage of our daughter. We knew she owned part of the house, and we still tried to make her pay rent. We still gave her bedroom to Christian. We still treated her like— He looked at me for the first time. Like she didn't matter. This is ridiculous, Christian snapped. Angela's pregnant. We need the space. You can't just— Pregnant. The word slipped out before I could stop it. Angela at least had the grace to look embarrassed. We were going to announce it at family dinner, she mumbled. Before all this. So that's why you needed the renovation done quickly, Sebastian noted, planning to turn Tessa's room into a nursery? My mother seized on this new angle. You see, you can't force a sale now. Not with a baby coming. What kind of aunt would do that to her own niece or nephew? The kind who's tired of being used, I said, finally breaking my silence. The kind who realizes that having a baby doesn't entitle you to someone else's property. Rita cleared her throat. The law is clear here. Tessa owns 1/4 of the property. She has the right to force a sale unless the other owners can buy her out at market value. Which is? Angela asked. Given current market rates and the property assessment. Rita consulted her papers. Her share would be approximately $200,000. Christian laughed bitterly. We don't have that kind of money. You know we don't. Then the house goes on the market, Sebastian stated firmly. You have 30 days to either buy her out or agree to a sale. Tessa, my mother tried one last time, her voice softening to the tone she used when she wanted something. We're family. We can work this out. Whatever you're feeling— I'm not feeling anything anymore, I interrupted. That's the point. You've taken everything I had to give, my money, my space, my trust. There's nothing left. But the baby? We'll have 2 sets of grandparents with plenty of resources, Sebastian cut in. This meeting is about property rights, not emotional manipulation. Rita nodded. I'll draft the paperwork. You have 30 days to make arrangements. After that, the property goes to public sale. As everyone stood to leave, Angela grabbed my arm. We thought you'd never do this, she hissed. We thought you knew your place. I looked at her hand until she dropped it. That's the problem. I finally do know my place, and it's not in that house anymore. Outside, Dad caught up with me in the parking lot. Your grandmother would be proud, he said quietly. Are you? I asked. He smiled sadly. I'm proud and ashamed. Proud of you for standing up. Ashamed it took this long. My phone buzzed. A text from my mother. When you regret this, don't come crying to us. I showed it to Sebastian, who'd been waiting by his car. Think I'll regret it? Only if you let them make you doubt yourself, he said. Remember what your grandmother wrote. Sometimes love means standing your ground. Even if it means losing your family? He looked at me seriously. Maybe especially then. I drove home to my quiet apartment, thinking about family and boundaries and what it means to truly own something like not just a house, but yourself. In 30 days, everything would change. But maybe it already had. 28 days after the mediation, I stood in front of my childhood home, watching the realtor hammer the for sale sign into the lawn. My mother yanked the curtains closed as I walked up the driveway one last time. The door opened before I could knock. Christian blocked the entrance, arms crossed. Come to gloat? Actually, I came to get the rest of Grandma Mary's things. I held up the court order. As per the agreement. He stepped aside reluctantly, and I followed him into the house. The changes were immediate and jarring, moving boxes everywhere, Angela's designer furniture already wrapped in plastic. The master bedroom door stood open, revealing bare walls where their renovation plans would never materialize. Angela's parents won't help? I asked, though I already knew the answer. They said we were idiots for not buying the house outright when we had the chance. He kicked an empty box. Happy now? Before I could answer, my mother's voice cut through the tension. Oh, so now she appears, after destroying everything. She stood at the top of the stairs, looking like she hadn't slept in days. Dad appeared behind her carrying more boxes. "Quinn," he warned softly, "don't. Don't what? Don't tell our daughter what she's done? How she's torn this family apart over money?" I walked past them toward the attic stairs. This was never about money. "Then what?" Angela emerged from the kitchen, one hand protectively over her barely visible pregnancy. "What was it about?" I paused on the stairs, looking back at my family, all the people who'd taken and taken until I had nothing left to give. It was about respect, about finally being treated like I matter. "Matter?" My mother laughed sharply. "You matter so much you're making your pregnant sister-in-law homeless?" "No one's homeless," I said, continuing up to the attic. "You all have places to go. You're just angry because for once you can't control the situation." I heard them following me up, watching as I went straight to the corner where I'd found the deed weeks ago. There were more boxes there, all of Grandma Mary's things, untouched since her death. "You knew," my mother said suddenly, her voice different. "Wilson told me you knew we hid the deed from you, that we lied." "Yes." "And this is your revenge?" I turned to face her, arms full of my grandmother's photo albums. "This is my inheritance, the one you tried to steal from me." "We never—" "You did. You knew I owned part of this house and still tried to charge me rent, still gave away rooms that weren't yours to give, still treated me like a tenant in my own home." Angela stepped forward. "My parents might still—" "Stop!" I cut her off. "Your parents won't help because they know you're wrong. Everyone knows you're wrong. You just can't admit it." The silence that followed was broken only by Dad's quiet footsteps as he came to help me with the boxes. "I found something else in these files," I continued, pulling out a yellowed envelope. "Letters between Grandma Mary and Aunt Prudence about how this family drives out anyone who doesn't play by their rules." My mother's face went pale. "Your aunt abandoned us." "No, you pushed her away, just like you tried to push me away. But Grandma Mary made sure I had options she never had." Christian snorted. "Options? You mean a legal loophole to blackmail your own family?" "No," Dad spoke up, surprising everyone. "A chance to break the cycle, to stop being the family doormat." "Wilson!" My mother looked shocked. "He's right," I said, picking up the last box. "And now it's done. The house sells next week. You all have your shares coming. Use them to build something new, preferably something with healthier boundaries." As I reached the bottom of the stairs, Angela called out, "What about the baby? Your niece or nephew will never know you now." I turned back one last time. Maybe someday they'll find their own grandmother's letters and learn the same lesson I did. Outside, Sebastian was waiting by his car. "All done?" I nodded, loading the boxes into his trunk. Behind us, the realtor was taking photos of the house, her camera clicking away as she captured the end of an era. "Your mother's watching from the window," Sebastian noted. "Let her watch. Let her remember this moment the next time she tries to take advantage of someone's love." As we drove away, I caught one last glimpse of my childhood home in the rearview mirror. The "for sale" sign swayed gently in the breeze, and for the first time in weeks, I felt nothing but peace. My phone buzzed, a text from Dad. "Mary would be proud, and so am I." I smiled, thinking of my grandmother's words about standing your ground. Sometimes it turns out the ground you stand on is worth more than the family trying to pull you down. The keys to my new house jingled in my hand as I walked up the path. Not an apartment this time, a real house, bought with my share from the family home sale and the savings my grandmother had secretly set aside for me. Sebastian whistled as he carried a box through the front door. "Your grandmother would have loved this place." "She does love it," I corrected, setting down my own box. "I'm pretty sure she orchestrated this whole thing from wherever she is." My phone buzzed. A text from Dad. "Moving in today?" "Yes," I replied. "Want to see it?" His response came quickly. "Already on my way." I was unpacking kitchen boxes when he arrived. He stood in the doorway, taking in the sunny room with its big windows and morning light. It looks like Mary's old kitchen, he said softly. She always loved spaces like this. I know, that's why I chose it. I handed him a mug of coffee. How's Mom? He sighed, accepting the coffee. Angry, hurt, living with your Aunt Linda while she figures things out. Christian and Angela? Don't tell me, I interrupted. I don't need to know. Fair enough. He pulled something from his jacket, another envelope. Found this in my old files. It's the last letter Mary wrote to Prudence before she died. Thought you should have it. I took it carefully, recognizing my grandmother's handwriting. The letter was short. Dearest Prudence, I've done what you asked, made sure Tessa will have options we never had. The house share is her escape route if she needs it. Your niece is stronger than she knows, just like you were. When she finally stands up to them, remember that courage runs in our blood. All my love, Mary. Did you know, I asked Dad, about her plans for me? He nodded slowly. She made me promise to watch over you, to make sure you found the deed when you needed it most. I failed at the first part, but at least the second worked out. Sebastian came in with another box. Living room's almost done. Want to see? We walked through the house, my house, room by room. Each space felt right, felt mine in a way no room in the family home ever had. No strings attached, no obligations, no guilt. Oh, Sebastian said, checking his phone. The real estate agent sent an update. Your old house just got its final offer. And? Angela's parents bought it. Apparently they're turning it into a rental property. I laughed at the irony. So everyone really did have to move out. Karma's funny that way, Dad said, but he was smiling too. The doorbell rang, a delivery I'd been waiting for. The framer had finished with Grandma Mary's photos, including one I'd never seen before, her and Aunt Prudence as young women, standing proud in front of their own first house. Where will you put it? Sebastian asked as I unwrapped it. Right here, I said, hanging it in the entryway. So everyone who enters knows whose house this really is. Dad touched the photo gently. Mary would say it's yours, completely yours. It is, I agreed, but I wouldn't have it without her. As if on cue, the morning light streamed through the windows, catching the glass of the frame and making the photo glow. For a moment, I could almost feel my grandmother's presence, proud, fierce, and free. I should go, Dad said, heading for the door. Your mother might call, eventually. When she does, I'll be here, I said, in my own house, living my own life. She can visit when she's ready to respect that. He hugged me, something he hadn't done in years. Mary was right about you being strong. After he left, Sebastian and I sat on my new porch, watching the neighborhood kids play across the street. No renovation demands, no family drama, no rent due for a room that was never really mine. Happy? He asked. More than that, I said. I'm free. My phone buzzed one last time, an email from an unknown address. The subject line read, Found this in Mom's things. Thought you should see it. Prudence. Attached was a photo I'd never seen, my grandmother in her garden, a much younger me helping her plant flowers. On the back, she'd written, Teaching Tessa about roots, the kind you choose to plant and the kind you choose to pull up. I showed it to Sebastian, who smiled. Perfect spot for a garden here, you know. I know, I said, looking out at my new yard, and I know exactly what I'm going to plant first. Tomorrow I'd start my garden, choosing my own roots, growing something new. But today, sitting on my porch in the warm sun, I was exactly where I needed to be, in a house built on strength, not guilt, in a home that was finally, completely mine.
It started raining the moment they lowered Jesse's casket into the ground. Not a drizzle, a full-on, cold, miserable downpour like the sky was grieving with me. Or maybe mocking me. I couldn't tell the difference anymore. My name is Oakley, and 3 months ago, I buried my husband. The man who made coffee every morning even though he didn't drink it. The man who kissed my forehead before every shift and told me he'd be home safe. He wasn't. One slip, One faulty rig at the construction site. One phone call that shattered everything. I stood there soaked to the bone, clutching the folded flag they handed me like it was supposed to mean something. My fingers were numb, not from the cold, but from holding back the scream that had been lodged in my throat since the call. "Sweetheart," my mother's voice cut through the rain. She stepped under my umbrella without asking. Her mascara was smudged, but her eyes were dry. "We need to talk. It's about the house." I blinked. "What?" My father joined her, his arm around her shoulder like a prop. "We didn't want to bring this up today, but we don't have a choice. The bank, Oakley, we're about to lose the house." I stared at them. The same house I grew up in? The one they always bragged about paying off early? Tessa appeared beside them, all fake tears and dramatic sniffles. "It's bad, Oak. They're behind on everything. They didn't want you to worry, but it's serious." I didn't say anything. Couldn't. My heart was already bleeding. "We wouldn't ask if we weren't desperate," Mom said, gripping my arm. "Jesse would have wanted us to be okay. He was family." That word, family. It hit me like a punch to the gut. "We're not asking for all of it," Dad added quickly. "Just enough to stop the foreclosure. We'll pay you back. Every cent." I don't remember agreeing. I just remember nodding. I remember Tessa hugging me like she'd won something. I remember the way Mom's hand lingered on my purse when I pulled out the checkbook. The insurance money had come in 2 weeks after the funeral. Jesse had been thorough, responsible. He'd taken care of everything, even in death. $480,000. I hadn't touched a cent. I couldn't. It felt like blood money. But they needed help. My parents, my sister, my family. And Jesse would have helped them. He always said, family first, even when they suck. So I wrote the check. $320,000, enough to cover the debt and give them a cushion. I kept a little for myself, just enough to cover rent and groceries for a few months. It felt right, like I was doing something good in the middle of all the pain. They hugged me, told me I was a blessing, promised to keep me updated. Then they disappeared. No calls, no texts, no updates, just silence. At first, I didn't think much of it. They were probably busy dealing with the bank, I told myself. Paperwork, lawyers, whatever. I left voicemails. "Just checking in," I'd say. "Hope everything's okay." Nothing. Maya, my best friend since high school, wasn't buying it. "They're ghosting you," she said over coffee one afternoon. "You gave them 300 grand, Oak. You don't get to be polite anymore." "They're my parents," I mumbled. She raised an eyebrow. "So?" I didn't have an answer. 2 months passed. Rent was coming due again. I picked up extra shifts at the bookstore, canceled my gym membership, and stopped ordering takeout. I didn't touch the last bit of insurance money. I couldn't. That was Jesse's. It felt sacred. Then, out of nowhere, Tessa texted, "Hey, so sorry we've been MIA. Things have been crazy. Let's do brunch soon." I stared at the screen like it might explode. No mention of the house. No mention of the money. I showed Maya. "Brunch?" she scoffed. "Is she serious?" I didn't respond. I couldn't. Something in my chest twisted. I didn't want to believe it. Not yet. Then came the video. It was a Tuesday. Freddie, my neighbor across the hall, knocked on my door with a USB drive in hand. "You need to see this," he said, eyes serious. Freddie was a drone guy, always flying that thing around the neighborhood. I used to tease him about it, called him Spy Kid. He didn't smile this time. I plugged the drive into my laptop. The footage was clear. A dealership. BMW. My parents and Tessa standing next to a white convertible, laughing, hugging the salesman, signing papers, champagne. I covered my mouth. Then I heard it, clear as day, my father's voice. She actually fell for it. The room spun. I paused the video. "They bought a car?" I whispered. Freddie nodded. That was 3 weeks ago. I didn't want to assume anything, but I recognized your sister. I couldn't breathe. Maya came over that night. She watched the footage in silence, then turned to me. They lied to you, she said. They stole from you. From Jesse. I sat on the floor, knees to my chest, staring at the paused video. My mother's smile, my father's smug laugh. Tessa's sunglasses perched on her head like a crown. I felt something shift inside me. Like a door I didn't know existed had just creaked open. I didn't cry, not this time. I just whispered, "They're going to regret this." I called them. All three, one after the other, straight to voicemail. I waited an hour, tried again, nothing. Maya sat across from me at the kitchen table, arms folded, jaw tight. "They're not going to pick up, Oak. You saw the video. They're not hiding it. They don't care." I stared at my phone like it might grow a conscience. I just want to hear them say it. I want to hear them lie to my face. Maya leaned forward. "Then let's go to them." I blinked. "You mean like show up unannounced. You gave them your husband's life insurance and they ghosted you. You deserve answers." I hesitated. She stood up. "I'm driving. Get your shoes." The drive to my parents' place felt longer than it was. My stomach churned the whole way. I kept picturing Jesse's face. How he used to say, "Your mom's intense, but she means well." He never saw this coming. Neither did I. We pulled up to the house, and I froze. It looked perfect. Fresh paint, new landscaping, a shiny black SUV in the driveway. Not a single sign of financial distress. Maya whistled low. "Foreclosure, huh?" I got out of the car, my legs stiff. Every step up the walkway felt heavier. I rang the bell. Footsteps. Then the door opened. Tessa. She blinked at me like I was a stranger. "Oakley? Oh my God, what are you doing here?" I forced a smile. "Just thought I'd stop by. It's been a while." She looked past me at Maya, then back. Now's not really a good time. We're in the middle of—" "Where's Mom?" I asked. Before she could answer, Mom appeared behind her, holding a glass of wine. "Well, this is a surprise," she said, lips tight. I stepped inside without asking. Maya followed. The living room was spotless. New furniture, marble coffee table, a massive flat screen mounted on the wall. I turned slowly. "So, the house is fine." Mom's smile didn't reach her eyes. "We managed to work something out with the bank. It was a miracle, really." Tessa chimed in. "Yeah, we pulled some strings. You know how it is." I looked at them. "You didn't think to tell me?" "We didn't want to worry you," Mom said quickly. "You've been through so much." I nodded. "Right, so much. Like burying my husband and giving you $300,000. Tessa shifted uncomfortably. "We said we'd pay you back." I pulled out my phone and hit play. The dealership footage filled the room. My father's voice echoed. "She actually fell for it." Tessa's face drained of color. Mom's wine glass trembled slightly. I paused the video. "So, was that before or after the miracle?" Silence. Maya stepped forward. "You lied. You stole. And you laughed about it." Mom's voice hardened. "You don't understand the pressure we were under." I turned to her. "No, I understand perfectly. You saw me broken. You saw me grieving. And you saw an opportunity." Tessa crossed her arms. "God, Oakley, it's not like we killed him." Maya's mouth dropped open. I didn't flinch. "No, you just danced on his grave." The front door opened. Dad walked in, keys in hand, humming. He stopped when he saw us. His eyes flicked to the paused video on my phone. "Ah, so the secret's out." I stared at him. "You're not even going to deny it?" He shrugged. "What's the point? You gave us the money. No one forced you." Maya stepped forward. "You manipulated her. Lied about foreclosure. That's fraud." He laughed. Oh, please. What court's going to hear a case about a daughter voluntarily giving money to her family? I looked at him, really looked, and for the first time I saw it. The smugness, the calculation, the total absence of shame. I turned to leave. Tessa called after me. Wait, Oakley, don't be dramatic. I stopped at the door. You're right. I've been dramatic, crying, mourning, trusting. That ends today. Back in the car, Maya was fuming. They're monsters, she said, and they're not even hiding it. I stared out the window. They think they've won. She looked at me. What are you going to do? I didn't answer right away. The dealership footage played again in my mind. The laughter, the champagne. I'm going to find out everything, I said. Every lie, every dollar, every secret. Maya nodded. And then, I looked at her. Then I'm going to burn it all down. The next morning, I was at the county records office by 9 a.m. I didn't sleep much. My hands still shook from the night before, but I was done crying. I had a laptop, a notebook, and a list of questions. Hi, I said to the clerk behind the glass. I need property records for 11-29 Maple Drive. She looked it up. You the owner? No, but I'm the daughter. I just need to know if the house has been in foreclosure. She raised an eyebrow. That address? No, ma'am. That home's been refinanced twice in the last 5 years. No foreclosure on file. I blinked. Are you sure? She turned the screen. Positive. Last refi was 18 months ago. Fixed rate. They're current on payments. I stepped back from the counter, heart pounding. Thanks. Outside, I called Maya. They never even were in foreclosure, I said. No surprise there. What's next? I'm going over there. To do what? To see it for myself. Want me to come? No. I think I need to do this alone. The drive to the house felt different this time. I wasn't nervous. I was watching, noticing. I parked a block away and walked up the street, hoodie pulled low, sunglasses on. I wasn't hiding. I just didn't want to give them a heads up. The garage door was open. Inside was the white BMW from the video, polished, gleaming. Dad's voice echoed from the backyard. I slipped around the side fence and peeked through the slats. There they were, my parents and Tessa, sitting by the pool, a new pool. The old one had been filled in years ago. This one had a waterfall feature and a built-in hot tub. Tessa was sipping from a wine glass. I was thinking we could remodel the patio next. Maybe add a bar. What do you think? Mom nodded. We've got the funds, and the weather's perfect for it. Dad laughed. Let's not overdo it. We still have to be subtle. Tessa rolled her eyes. Oakley's not coming back. She's probably too busy crying into Jessie's old shirts. They all laughed. I stepped back, heart in my throat. My fingers curled into fists. I wanted to scream. I wanted to storm in and flip the damn table. But I didn't. I pulled out my phone and hit record. I got it all. Later that night, I sat on Maya's couch, playing the video. She watched in silence, jaw clenched. They're disgusting, she said. They're sloppy, I replied, and that's going to be their downfall. She looked at me. What's the plan? I opened my laptop. First, I'm freezing the rest of the insurance money. Then I'm calling Jesse's old lawyer. You think he'll help? He liked Jesse, and he's sharp. He'll know what to do. Maya nodded. Good, because this is war. The next morning, I called Mr. Sanders. He'd handled Jesse's will and the insurance paperwork. A quiet, serious man with a voice like gravel and eyes that missed nothing. Miss, he said after I explained everything, you're telling me your family fabricated a financial emergency to access your late husband's life insurance? Yes, and I have video proof, plus bank records and messages. He was silent for a moment. Then, come in tomorrow. Bring everything. We'll talk options. I hung up and exhaled for the first time in hours. That night, I went through my bank statements. every transfer, every check. I printed screenshots of messages from Tessa and Mom, especially the ones referencing saving the house. Maya helped me organize everything into folders. I can't believe you gave them that much, she said quietly. I was grieving, I said. They knew that. She nodded. And they used it. The next day, I walked into Mr. Sanders' office with a fireproof folder and a flash drive. He listened. He took notes. He watched the dealership video twice. This is bad, he said finally. On their part. Can I press charges? Civil, yes. Possibly criminal, depending on how the insurance money was used. If they lied about the purpose, and you can prove it, that's fraud. If your sister impersonated you or misrepresented anything to the insurance company, that's worse. I swallowed. I want to move forward. He nodded. Then we'll start by freezing the remaining funds. I'll file paperwork today. Then we'll build the case. I stood to leave. Thank you. He looked at me. You're doing the right thing. As I stepped outside, my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. You should know. Tessa called Jesse's job the day he died. She said she was you. My blood ran cold. I called the number. No answer. Just a voicemail box with no name. I texted back. Who is this? No reply. I called Maya. Someone just told me Tessa called Jesse's job pretending to be me, the day he died. What? Why? I don't know, but I'm going to find out. Maya's voice dropped. Oakley, what if this goes deeper than money? I stared at the screen, at the silence. Then I'll dig deeper, I said, until I hit the bottom. Mr. Sanders didn't waste time. By the end of the week, the remaining life insurance funds were frozen. My family couldn't touch a cent more, and they didn't even know it yet. They'll find out soon enough, he said, sliding a folder across his desk. We're serving them with a formal request to account for all disbursed funds. If they can't provide documentation, we move to civil court. I nodded. They won't have anything real, just receipts for wine, cars, and patio furniture. Then we'll bury them in paper. Back at home, Maya was already working. She had her laptop open, spreadsheets pulled up, and a pile of printed text between us. Okay, she said, pointing. Here's the timeline. You gave them the check on March 14th. The BMW was purchased March 28th. Pool renovations started early April, all after they told you the house was in foreclosure. I nodded. And here's the voicemail from Mom on March 10th, saying they were days away from losing everything. She added it to the file. Perfect. That's misrepresentation. Easy. Freddie came over later with more drone footage. He handed me a flash drive without a word and sat down. I've got them at the dealership, the pool construction, and, get this, the spa. Tessa got a full-body massage and facial the same week she told you they were eating canned soup. Maya snorted. Canned soup, my ass. I plugged in the drive and watched. There they were, stepping out of the spa with gift bags and iced lattes. Freddie leaned forward. You want timestamps on everything? Yes, I said. And keep your drone flying. If they sneeze, I want to know. He nodded. Done. The next day, the legal summons went out, one to each of them, hand-delivered, and just like that, the silence broke. My phone rang at 7:12 a.m. It was Mom. I let it go to voicemail. Then Tessa called, then Dad. I didn't pick up. I just sat on the couch, sipping coffee, watching the missed calls pile up. Maya grinned. Let them sweat. At noon, my phone buzzed again. A voicemail from Tessa. Okay, Oakley, what the hell is this? We got some legal crap about the insurance money? You're seriously suing your own family after everything we've done for you? Call me back. I didn't. That night, there was a knock at my door. Maya peeked through the peephole. It's your parents. I opened the door halfway. Mom's face was flushed. Oakley, what is this? Some kind of sick joke? Dad stepped in. You're taking legal action against us? Your own mother and father? I stayed calm. You lied. You stole. You laughed about it. Mom's voice rose. We're your family. You used me, I said. You saw me broken and you cashed in. Dad pointed a finger. You gave us that money willingly. Under false pretenses. That's fraud. Tessa appeared behind them, arms crossed, sunglasses perched on her head like she was starring in a soap opera. You're being dramatic, she said. It was just money. Maya stepped beside me. It was her husband's life insurance, not a birthday check. Tessa rolled her eyes. Whatever. You can't prove anything. I smiled. Actually, I can. I pulled out my phone and tapped play. The dealership footage, the laughter, the champagne, my dad's voice. She actually fell for it. They all froze. I let it play twice before turning it off. You're going to regret this, Mom said quietly. No, I replied. You are. The door slammed behind them. 2 days later, Mr. Sanders called. They've responded through a lawyer, denying everything, claiming the funds were a gift. Expected, I said, but there's something else. I sat up straighter. What? I got a call from someone at Jesse's company. They said a woman called the day of his accident, pretending to be you, asking about the insurance process. That's not standard. My throat tightened. Did they say who? They didn't know her name, but they said she sounded young, pushy, asked if the claim would be fast-tracked. I hung up and called Jesse's old supervisor. I'd met him once, at the funeral. Hi, it's Oakley. I need to ask you something. Strange. He remembered the call. Yeah, I thought it was you, but now that you mention it, the voice was off. She kept saying she was your sister, then corrected herself. I swallowed. Do you have a recording? I'll check. That night, I went through old texts between me and Tessa. I found one from the day Jesse died. So sorry, Oak. Let me know if you need anything. Love you. It was sent at 10:42 a.m. Jesse's accident happened at 11:15. She knew before I did. I stared at the screen until it blurred. Then I opened my laptop and started a new folder. Tessa, possible insurance fraud. I added everything. Maya sat beside me, quiet. You okay? No, I said, but I'm getting there. She nodded. Good. Because they're about to find out who they messed with. I found her at the salon. Tessa always posted her location on her stories like she was a celebrity. Self-care day, with a boomerang of her holding a pink smoothie. I didn't even have to zoom in to see the name of the place. I walked in just as she was stepping out of the massage room, robe on, hair tied in a silk wrap. She froze when she saw me. Wow, she said. Didn't expect to see you here. I smiled. I figured we should talk, privately. The receptionist was already eyeing us. Tessa sighed. Fine. 5 minutes. We stepped outside into the parking lot. Her BMW gleamed in the sun like a slap in the face. I didn't waste time. You called Jesse's job the day he died. Her expression didn't change, but her eyes flicked, just for a second. I don't know what you're talking about. You said you were me. Asked about the insurance claim. Before I even knew he was gone. She shrugged. I was trying to help. I took a step closer. You impersonated me. Tessa rolled her eyes. Oh, please. It was one call. I was just trying to figure out how long the process would take. You were a wreck. You didn't even tell me he was dead yet. She looked away. I found out through someone at the site. I just wanted to know what we were dealing with. We? She turned back, arms crossed. Don't act like you didn't need help. You were falling apart. You couldn't even get out of bed. You weren't helping me. You were helping yourself. She smirked. So what? It's not like I forged anything. I asked a question. Big deal. You lied. You used my name. That's fraud. Her face twisted. You're really going to take this to court? Over a phone call? No, I said. Over everything. The money, the lies, the fact that you celebrated Jesse's death like it was a lottery win. She scoffed. Don't be dramatic. I pulled out my phone and opened the folder. You want to hear what you texted Mom the day of the funeral? I read it aloud. She looks like a ghost in that dress. Bet she doesn't even realize she gave us more than we asked for. Tessa's face drained of color. I kept going. Once the check clears, I'm booking Cabo. She lunged for the phone. I stepped back. Don't touch me. You went through my phone? She hissed. No. You backed it up to the cloud. Jesse set it up for you, remember? She looked like she might spit. You used my grief, I said. You used my husband's death. Tessa's voice dropped. You were always the favorite, the golden one. Jesse was perfect. You had the life I was supposed to have. I stared at her. So you stole it? She didn't answer. I turned to go. You think you're better than us now? She snapped. Because you lawyered up? I stopped. No, I think I'm finally seeing you for who you are. I got in my car and drove straight to Maya's. She opened the door before I even knocked. Well, she admitted it. Said she called pretending to be me. Said I was falling apart, so it was justified. Maya's jaw tightened. That's not just fraud. That's impersonation. Maybe even wire fraud, depending on what she said to the company. I nodded. We need to add it to the case. We sat down at her kitchen table, laptops open, files spread out. I forwarded the audio recording I'd secretly taken of Tessa's confession to Mr. Sanders. He replied within the hour. This changes things. We'll be adding criminal impersonation and misrepresentation to the civil suit, also looking into federal fraud statutes. I exhaled. Maya handed me a glass of water. You okay? No, but I'm not scared anymore. She smiled. Good, because they should be. The next day, I went through more of Jesse's things. I found his old phone, still functional, still logged into his email. I wasn't sure what I was looking for until I saw a thread between him and my dad. Subject line, helping Oakley's family. I clicked. Dad had asked Jesse if he'd consider loaning them $50,000 to help with some home repairs. Jesse declined politely, said we were saving for a house of our own. The email was dated 6 months before he died. I forwarded it to Mr. Sanders. Later that night, I got another anonymous text. Check Tessa's Venmo from March 15th. She split a payment for the car with your dad. I opened the app, searched her public transactions. There it was. BMW down payment. Paid to Dad, with a champagne emoji. I stared at it for a long time. Then I screenshotted it, saved it, and added it to the evidence folder. Maya looked over my shoulder. They really thought you'd never look. They thought I'd just stay broken. She nodded. They don't know you anymore. I closed the laptop. They never did. They showed up at my apartment on a Sunday. I was folding laundry when the knock came. Not a polite tap. A full-on, angry, impatient bam, bam, bam. Maya peeked through the peephole. It's them, and they brought the damn car. I opened the door slowly. There they were. Mom in designer sunglasses, Dad in a crisp polo, Tessa in heels too high for daylight. And behind them, parked like a trophy, the white BMW. Mom stepped forward. We need to talk. I leaned against the doorframe. About what? The lawsuit? The fraud? The impersonation? Dad held up a hand. Let's not do this here. We came to make peace. I crossed my arms. You brought your lawyer? No, he said. We came as family. Maya let out a laugh from behind me. That's rich. Tessa flipped her hair. Can we come in or not? I stepped aside. Sure, I've got something for you, actually. They filed in like they owned the place. Mom wrinkled her nose at the laundry basket. Tessa rolled her eyes at the IKEA furniture. We've been thinking, Dad started, sitting on the edge of my couch like it might stain him. The whole legal thing. It's gotten out of hand. We're willing to return some of the money. Some? I asked. 50,000, he said. That's fair. I raised an eyebrow. You stole over 300, Mom chimed in. It was never about stealing. It was about survival. Family helping family. Tessa added, Besides, you still have some of it, right? Maya stood up. You're unbelievable. Dad ignored her. We're willing to settle this quietly. No court, no drama, but we need a little help right now. I tilted my head. Help? Tessa sighed. We're doing a surprise renovation. The city's giving us crap about permits. We're short 10 grand. I blinked. You came here in a BMW to ask me for more money? Mom smiled like it was a reasonable request. Just a small loan. We'll pay you back. I walked over to the TV stand and picked up the remote. Funny you should mention the dealership. Tessa narrowed her eyes. What? I turned on the TV. The dealership footage played instantly. Them laughing, signing papers, clinking glasses. Then my dad's voice. She actually fell for it. Their faces dropped. I let it loop once, then twice. No one spoke. Finally, I turned it off and faced them. I saved something of yours too, I said. Dad stood up. Where did you get that? Doesn't matter. Mom's hands trembled. You can't use that in court. It's illegal. Maya stepped forward. Actually, it's not. It's public footage, captured legally and admissible. Tessa's voice cracked. You've been spying on us? You've been robbing me, I said. So yeah, I started paying attention. Dad's voice dropped. You don't want to go down this road, Oakley. I'm already on it. He stepped closer. You think you're better than us now because you've got a lawyer and a folder full of receipts? No, I said, because I have truth and you have lies. Mom reached out. Sweetheart, I pulled back. Don't. You lost the right to call me that. Tessa's voice turned cold. You're going to destroy this family. I looked at her. You destroyed it the moment you cashed in on my husband's death. They stood there, silent. Then Maya said, You should go, before we call security. Dad opened his mouth, then closed it. He turned and walked out. Mom followed, heels clicking like gunshots. Tessa lingered for a second. You think this makes you powerful? She asked. No, I said, but it makes me free. She scoffed and stormed out. The door slammed. Maya exhaled. Holy shit! I sat down, heart pounding. She grinned. You didn't even flinch. I've done enough crying, I said. Now it's their turn. We spent the rest of the day organizing everything. Footage, texts, emails, bank transfers, timestamps. Mr. Sanders had already drafted the civil suit. Now we were adding impersonation, fraud, emotional damages. I emailed him the dealership footage and the audio of Tessa's confession. He replied within an hour. This is more than enough. They're going to fold. I stared at the screen. Maya handed me a glass of water. You okay? I nodded. I think I'm finally starting to be. She smiled. You were right. You saved something of theirs. Now it's going to save you. I looked out the window. The BMW was gone, but the damage was done, and the reckoning had just begun. They walked into Mr. Sanders' office like they still had the upper hand. Tessa wore a tight blazer and heels that clicked with every step. Mom had on pearls and a forced smile. Dad's tie was crooked, but his smirk was intact. They brought a lawyer, some guy in a cheap suit who looked like he hadn't read a single page of their file. I sat across the table with Maya beside me and Mr. Sanders at the head. Let's begin, he said, calm and cold. We're here to discuss the formal response to the civil suit filed by my client, Oakley, regarding the misappropriation of life insurance funds, emotional damages, and fraudulent misrepresentation. Dad leaned forward. This whole thing is a misunderstanding. Mr. Sanders didn't blink. We'll let the evidence speak for itself. He opened a folder and slid a stack of documents across the table. These are certified bank records, text messages, drone footage, and a recorded confession from Tessa regarding impersonation and misuse of funds. Tessa's lawyer barely touched the papers. This all seems circumstantial. Mr. Sanders smiled faintly. Let's start with the dealership footage. He hit play on the small screen in the center of the table. The video filled the room, the three of them laughing, signing the BMW paperwork, clinking glasses. Then Dad's voice. She actually fell for it. No one spoke. Mr. Sanders continued like he was reading a grocery list. Following that, we have Venmo transactions linking the car down payment to the insurance money, time-stamped 2 weeks after the funds were transferred. He flipped to a second page. We also have audio of Tessa admitting to impersonating Oakley in a phone call to Jesse's employer, inquiring about the insurance claim before Oakley was even notified of his death. Tessa shifted in her seat. Her lawyer whispered something. She didn't respond. Mom finally spoke. We're family. This shouldn't be happening in a courtroom. Mr. Sanders looked up. You're correct. It should have never happened at all. Dad's smirk was gone. What do you want? I leaned forward. Everything, Tessa scoffed. You're not getting a dime back. Mr. Sanders didn't flinch. Actually, we're seeking full restitution of the misused funds, damages for emotional distress, and potential criminal charges for impersonation and fraud. The IRS has also been notified. Their lawyer paled. The IRS? Mr. Sanders nodded. Yes, there are several large cash purchases that were never reported. The audit's already underway. Mom's hands trembled. You wouldn't do that. I already did, I said. Tessa's voice cracked. You're going to destroy us. I looked her straight in the eye. You destroyed yourselves. Dad stood up, hands on the table. You think this makes you strong? You think Jesse would have wanted this? I stood too. Jesse would have wanted justice, and I'm making sure he gets it. Maya placed a folder in front of them. You can settle now or take your chances in court, but either way, this doesn't end on your terms. Their lawyer whispered again. This time, Dad listened. Tessa's eyes were glassy. You're not the same person. No, I said. I'm not. Mr. Sanders stood. We'll give you 48 hours to decide. After that, we proceed with the full suit. They filed out, slower this time. No heels clicking, no smug smiles. When the door closed, Maya turned to me. You did it. I sat back down, heart pounding. Not yet. But they know what's coming. Mr. Sanders nodded. They'll settle. They don't want this going to trial. I stared at the empty chairs across the table. Good. I want this to hurt. Later that night, I got a text from Tessa. You win. Happy now? I didn't reply. Instead, I opened Jesse's old voicemail, the one I couldn't bring myself to delete. Hey, babe. Just checking in. I'll be home late, but I love you. Always. I played it twice. Then I whispered, I'm getting it back, Jesse. All of it. The letter came by courier. Thick envelope. Gold seal. No return address. Maya stood beside me as I opened it. Well, she asked, eyes wide. I scanned the top page. They settled. She grinned. All of it? Every cent. Plus damages. They agreed to pay back the full amount, plus interest, and cover my legal fees. Maya let out a breath. They folded. They had no choice. Inside the envelope were copies of signed agreements. Tessa's name, my parents' signatures, a bank account listed for restitution payments. The BMW was already repossessed. The pool company filed a lien on their house. And the IRS? Still digging. They're going to lose everything, Maya said. I nodded. They already did. That night, I boxed up the last of Jesse's things. Not because I wanted to forget him, but because I didn't need to hold on to the pain anymore. His hoodie still smelled like him. I folded it carefully and placed it in the bin marked keep. There was a knock at the door. I opened it to find Mom standing there, alone, holding a manila envelope. "I'm not here to beg," she said. "Good," I replied, stepping aside but not inviting her in. She looked tired, smaller somehow. Her hair wasn't done, and her usual perfume was replaced with something bitter. Regret, maybe. "I wanted to give you this," she said, handing me the envelope. I opened it. Inside were old photos. Me and Jesse at our wedding, at Christmas, laughing on the beach. I hadn't seen these in years. "I found them in a drawer," she said. "Figured you'd want them." I didn't say anything. She shifted. "We're losing the house." "I know. Tessa moved in with a friend. Your father's under audit. We're not doing well." I looked at her. "You came here for sympathy?" "No," she said quickly. "I came because I wanted to say something." I waited. "I'm sorry," she said. "We were wrong. All of it. I don't expect forgiveness. I wanted you to know that." I nodded once. "Thanks for the photos." She hesitated. "You were always the strong one. We just never saw it." I didn't respond. She turned to go but paused at the door. "You're not like us, Oakley. That's a good thing." Then she left. I closed the door behind her and locked it. The next morning, I sat in front of my mic and hit record. "Welcome back to the grief seat," I said. "Today we're talking about betrayal, not from strangers, but from the people who swore they loved you the most." Maya sat across from me, monitoring the levels. "I lost my husband," I continued, "and then I lost my family. But what I gained was clarity and a spine I didn't know I had." We recorded for an hour. Raw, honest, no filters. After, Maya leaned back. "That was your best one yet." "It felt good," I said. "Like I'm finally saying the things I was too scared to say." "You think they'll listen?" I shrugged. "Doesn't matter. It's not for them." Later, I walked past the bookstore where Jesse used to wait for me after shifts. I stood outside for a minute, watching the reflection of the street in the window. A kid inside dropped a book, and the sound made me flinch. But then I smiled. I kept walking. At the park, I sat on our old bench, the one with the carved initials. I ran my fingers over the letters. "O Plari." I pulled out my phone and opened the final transfer confirmation. The money was back in my account. Every dollar. Maya texted, "Drinks tonight? You earned it." I replied, "Absolutely." As I stood to leave, an older woman nearby smiled at me. "You look like someone who just let go of something heavy," she said. I smiled back. "Yeah, I did." Back at home, I poured a glass of wine and opened the window. The city buzzed below, life moving forward. I pulled out Jesse's voicemail one more time. "Hey, babe, just checking in. I'll be home late, but I love you. Always." I whispered, "I love you too." Then I deleted it. Not because I was letting go of him, but because I didn't need the pain to remember the love. They made my loss a transaction. I made their lies a legacy.
I was 7 when I learned that being perfect wasn't enough. Not in my family anyway. My sister Ruby could bring home C's and get ice cream. I could ace every test and get nothing but a distracted nod. I'm Eloise, and I've spent 35 years being the other daughter. "Darling, you look professional," my mother said last night. Her lips pursed as she examined my blazer and pencil skirt. The way she said professional made it sound like a terminal illness. Ruby always manages to look so effortlessly glamorous, doesn't she? I took another sip of wine, letting the bitter Merlot wash away the even more bitter retort I wanted to make. Ruby sat across from me at our parents' mahogany dining table, wearing what looked like a month of my rent and designer clothes. Her perfect blonde hair caught the chandelier light while she texted away, probably updating her Instagram followers about our precious family dinner. Speaking of Ruby, my father cleared his throat, we have something important to discuss. I knew that tone. It was his, we need a favor, but we'll pretend it's not a favor voice. I'd heard it too many times before. Ruby and Jonah found the most darling house. My mother gushed, reaching over to squeeze Ruby's manicured hand. 4 bedrooms, a pool, perfect for the children. But you know how the market is. Ruby finally looked up from her phone, those big blue eyes already welling with tears. Always on cue, always perfect. The bank wants a bigger deposit than we expected, she said softly. 30,000 more. I nearly choked on my wine. 30,000? Now, Eloise, my father cut in, we know you're careful with money. Your mother mentioned you've built up quite a savings account. Of course she did, because Mother had been borrowing my account statements from my mail since I was 18. Careful with money was their code for boring and single. We've already promised to help, my mother added, but with your father's retirement, you want me to give Ruby $30,000? I said it slowly, making sure I hadn't misunderstood. For a house deposit? Ruby sniffled. It's not giving, really. It's investing in family. What about your influencer income? I asked. All those sponsored posts? Don't be crude, Eloise, my mother snapped. This isn't about money. It's about supporting family, something you've always struggled with. I struggle with it? I laughed, but there was no humor in it. That's rich, Mom, really rich. My father's face darkened. Your sister has children to think about, a real family. Stop being jealous of her life and think about someone other than yourself for once. The room went quiet. Ruby dabbed at her eyes with an embroidered napkin. My mother stared at me with that mixture of disappointment and manipulation she'd perfected over the years. My father wouldn't meet my eyes. I could feel the familiar pressure building, the weight of their expectations, the subtle guilt trips, the unspoken comparison to Ruby's picture-perfect life. But something was different this time. Maybe it was the wine, or maybe it was 35 years of being the family ATM finally reaching its limit. Okay, I said quietly. Ruby's tears dried instantly. Really? Of course. I smiled, and for once it wasn't forced. What are sisters for? My mother beamed, already planning the housewarming party in her head. My father nodded approvingly, probably relieved he wouldn't have to dip into his golf fund. But they didn't see what I saw. They didn't notice how Ruby's designer purse was a knockoff, or how she'd been wearing the same expensive jewelry for months. They didn't see her hands shaking slightly when she mentioned the deposit, or the way she wouldn't quite meet my eyes. I'd spent my whole life watching Ruby, learning her tales, collecting her lies like others collected stamps, and now, finally, I had a use for them all. I'll transfer the money tomorrow, I said, standing up and gathering my things. But Ruby, honey, you'll need to come to the bank with me, sign some papers. Papers? She looked uncertain for the first time. Just formalities, I assured her. Nothing to worry about. As I drove home that night, I made 3 calls. One to my friend Joanna at the law firm, one to my bank, and one to a private investigator I'd kept on speed dial ever since Ruby borrowed my identity for a credit card 6 years ago. Sometimes the best revenge isn't saying no, it's saying yes and watching everything fall apart. Sign here and here, the bank manager said, sliding the paperwork across his desk. This authorizes the transfer and sets up the tracking notifications. Ruby's pen hesitated above the line. Tracking notifications? Standard procedure for large transfers, I explained smoothly. The bank likes to monitor for fraud. What I didn't mention was that Joanna had helped me set up a sophisticated web of financial alerts that would ping me every time Ruby spent more than $100. The bank manager, an old client of mine, had been happy to help with the extra paperwork. I just feel awful about this, Ruby said, signing with a flourish. I'll pay you back as soon as we're settled. I thought about the time she'd borrowed Dad's credit card for a shopping spree in college. She'd promised to pay that back too. Dad had ended up writing it off as a gift, just like everything else. No rush, I said, watching the transfer complete. $30,000 gone in seconds. But this time, I had a safety net. My phone buzzed as we left the bank. It was Joanna. Everything's set up, ready for phase 2? I texted back a thumbs-up emoji and turned to Ruby. Hey, remember that spa voucher you gave me for Christmas? The one from Luminous Day Spa, of course. I thought I might use it today. Want to come with? Ruby's face fell. Oh, I wish I could, but I have a lunch thing with Cecilia. Perfect. No worries. Another time. The spa was exactly where I needed to be. Teddy Stone, the manager, greeted me warmly. Ms. Eloise, haven't seen you in ages. Your sister was just here yesterday. I feigned surprise. Ruby? But she said she'd never been here. Teddy laughed. Never been here? She's our best customer. Has the platinum membership and everything. Just had the full works yesterday. Massage, facial, the new gold infusion treatment. Gold infusion? I raised an eyebrow. That sounds expensive. Oh yes, $899 per session. But your sister never minds the cost. Says it's essential for her social media presence. My phone buzzed again. Another text from Joanna. First alert just came in, $74,100 at Resort Paradise. Want the details? I smiled at Teddy. You know what? I think I'll skip the treatment today, but I'd love to see your membership pricing. Later that evening, I sat in my apartment reviewing everything Joanna had sent over. Resort Paradise wasn't just a spa charge. It was a full weekend booking for Ruby and her influencer friend Cecilia. The same Cecilia she was supposedly having lunch with right now. My phone rang. It was my mother. Eloise, darling, Ruby just showed us the most wonderful house tour video. The closing is in 3 weeks. We're all so excited. I could hear Ruby in the background, probably showing off more photos. That's great, Mom. Hey, quick question. Has Ruby mentioned her trip next weekend? Trip? What trip? Oh, I said innocently. Maybe it's a surprise. Never mind. I hung up just as another alert came through. Ruby had just spent $2,300 at a designer boutique, the same amount as the mortgage prepayment she'd supposedly made yesterday. My mind flashed back to Christmas 5 years ago. Ruby had announced she was pregnant with her first child, effectively ruining my promotion announcement. Everyone had fawned over her while my news went unmentioned. Later, I'd overheard her telling Cecilia it was a false alarm, but she needed the attention. You okay? Joanna's voice came through on speakerphone. These numbers are pretty damning. I watched another alert pop up, $500 at a wine bar. I'm fine. How long until the house closing? 3 weeks. Want me to keep tracking? Yes, I said, opening my laptop to document everything. Every penny, every purchase, every lie. Let's see how long she can keep juggling. You know, Joanna said carefully, we could stop this now. Show your parents the evidence before she wastes all the money. I thought about all the times I tried to warn them about Ruby, all the times they dismissed me as jealous, bitter, or cruel, all the years of watching them enable her while I was cast as the villain. No, I replied, watching another alert pop up. Sometimes people need to learn the hard way, even parents. And Ruby? I clicked through the mounting evidence of her spending spree. Ruby's about to learn that karma doesn't care how many Instagram followers you have. My phone lit up with a text from Jonah, Ruby's husband. Hey, things are a bit tense at home. Can we grab coffee soon? Need to talk. I smiled. The threads were starting to unravel, and I hadn't even had to pull them. Dad, have you seen how crazy the inflation rates are getting? I stirred my coffee, watching his reaction carefully. We were sitting in his study, surrounded by the familiar smell of old books and leather. "It's concerning," he muttered, barely looking up from his newspaper, "but Ruby assures me their financial advisor has everything under control." I bit back a laugh. Ruby's financial advisor was probably just Cecilia giving fashion investment tips on TikTok. Speaking of advisors, I got an interesting call yesterday. My phone rang, cutting me off. Unknown number. I let it go to voicemail, already knowing what it would be. The third debt collection agency this week looking for Ruby. "Everything okay?" Dad asked, finally glancing up. "Just work," I lied, the same way he'd been lying to himself about Ruby for years. "Hey, did Ruby tell you about her new investment strategy?" But he was already reaching for his golf clubs. "Sorry, Princess, running late for my tea time. We'll catch up later?" I watched him hurry out, wondering if he'd ever actually caught up with me about anything. My phone buzzed with a text from Joanna. "Public records search complete. You need to see this." Before I could check it, someone tapped my shoulder. I turned to find Jonah standing behind me in the coffee shop where I'd retreated after leaving Dad's house. "Eloise," he said, looking exhausted, "I'm glad I ran into you." The dark circles under his eyes told me everything I needed to know. "Wanna sit?" He slumped into the chair across from me. "Things are tense at home. Ruby keeps saying everything's fine, but—" He ran his hands through his hair. "We're behind on the kids' school fees, the car payment, everything. She swears it's just temporary, that the house deposit is safe, but—" My phone buzzed again. Another voicemail from an unknown number. "This is the final notice for Ruby James Wilcox regarding outstanding payments." "Have you checked your joint accounts?" I asked carefully. "Ruby handles all that," he said. "Says I'm too negative about money, but yesterday I found shopping bags in her closet, brand new jewelry, still in boxes. When I asked about it, she said they were props for her social media posts." I nodded, thinking about the credit card alerts I'd been getting. The props had cost more than Jonah's monthly salary. He hesitated. "I thought you might know something. You work in finance, right?" Before I could answer, my phone lit up with an email from Joanna. The subject line read, "Paris?" "I wish I could help," I said, standing up, "but Ruby's always been private about money." Jonah's face fell. "Yeah, I get it. Family loyalty and all that." Family loyalty. The same excuse they'd use to take my savings. The same reason I was supposed to stay quiet every time Ruby lied, cheated, or stole. I walked home slowly, opening Joanna's email. There they were. Receipts from boutiques in Paris dated 2 weeks ago. Ruby smiling in front of the Eiffel Tower on a burner Instagram account. Shopping bags from stores I couldn't even pronounce. My mother's voice echoed in my head from last Christmas. "Ruby's so good with money, such a provider for her family. Not everyone needs a fancy career to be successful, Eloise." My phone rang again. "Mom." "Darling, did you see Ruby's latest post? The house is absolutely perfect. She's such a shining light in our family, always thinking of others." I stared at the Paris receipts. "Yeah, Mom, she's something all right." "I know you two have had your differences, but I'm so proud of you for helping with the deposit. That's what family does." I opened my tracking app. Ruby had just charged $18,000 at a casino resort. "You're right, Mom," I said quietly. "That's exactly what family does." After hanging up, I texted Joanna. "Send me everything you have, every receipt, every transaction, every secret account. It's time." "You sure?" she replied. "Once this starts?" Another alert popped up. Ruby was booking first-class tickets somewhere. "I'm sure," I typed back. "She wanted to play house with my money? Let's see how long her castle of cards stays standing." My phone buzzed one last time. A text from Ruby. Hey sis, quick favor. Can you delete those spa membership records you asked for? Jonah's being weird about money lately. Love you. I screenshot the message and added it to my growing file. The truth was coming, whether they were ready or not. The text from Jonah came at 3 a.m. Bank accounts overdrawn, all of them. Ruby's not answering her phone. Please help. I watched the dots appear and disappear as he typed more messages. Found jewelry in the guest room, dozens of boxes, price tags still on. She said the deposit was safe. Where is the money, Eloise? I set my phone down, remembering my 16th birthday. I'd saved for months to throw myself a party, the first real one I'd ever had. 10 minutes before my friends arrived, Ruby had a crisis about her boyfriend. My party turned into a Ruby comfort session. My cake went uneaten. My mother said I was selfish for being upset. My phone buzzed again. Jonah, please, I don't know who else to ask. I typed back, come over tomorrow, 9 a.m. Sleep didn't come easily. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Ruby's smug face at family dinners, heard my mother's constant praise, felt the sting of my father's dismissal, the perfect daughter in the spare. That's how it had always been. At 8:57 a.m., Jonah knocked on my door. He looked like he hadn't slept in days. Coffee, I offered. He shook his head. Just answers, please. My phone pinged. An alert showing Ruby had just spent $3,000 at a luxury hotel. You should sit down, I said. He collapsed onto my couch. The kids' school called yesterday. Tuition checks bounced. Ruby said it was a bank error. Another alert. Ruby was shopping online right now. Then I found these. He pulled out his phone, showing me photos of shopping bags stuffed in their guest room closet. Designer everything, still wrapped. Must be 40 grand worth. When did you find them? Last night, after the bank called about overdraft fees. Ruby said they were gifts for her followers, sponsorship items. He laughed bitterly. I checked the receipts. She bought them, all of them. My phone lit up with an email from my mother. Ruby's housewarming party next month. Theme, Parisian luxury. Isn't she clever? Jonah, I said carefully, what exactly did Ruby tell you about the house deposit? That it was sorted, your money plus some savings she'd been keeping separate. His voice cracked. There are no savings, are there? I pulled out my laptop. No, there aren't. Over the next hour, I showed him selected pieces of evidence, credit card statements, shopping sprees, the Paris trip, the casino visits. With each revelation, he seemed to shrink further into my couch. The deposit money, he whispered. You're 30,000. Where is it? I pulled up the tracking data. Gone, most of it within the first week. Why didn't you stop her? His voice rose. Why didn't you say something? Would you have believed me? I asked quietly. Would anyone have believed me over perfect Ruby? He stood up suddenly, pacing my living room. I have to tell someone. Your parents already enable her. They always have. The bank will want their money. The police won't do anything. She had authorization to use the money. He stopped pacing. Then what am I supposed to do? My phone buzzed again. A message from Ruby. Hey sis, can you believe some crazy person is spreading rumors about my spending? So toxic. Anyway, could you maybe help with a tiny loan just until my sponsorship money comes in? Love you. I showed him the message. You wait. For what? For the truth to finish unraveling itself. He grabbed his coat. I can't just wait. I have kids, Eloise, a life she's destroying. Trust me, I said. It won't take long now. After he left, I opened my email to find a message from my mother, gushing about Ruby's incredible eye for design and how the new house would be a testament to her success. I clicked through my evidence folder, past the credit card statements and bank alerts, until I found what I was looking for, a video from Ruby's secret Instagram account. She was in Paris, champagne in hand, laughing about how she'd finally escaped the suburban nightmare for a while. The timestamp? 2 days after she'd gotten my money. My phone lit up one last time. A text from Joanna. Found something big, really big. Ready to end this? I thought about Jonah's face when he saw the evidence, about my 16th birthday cake, uneaten, about 35 years of being the family disappointment. Yes, I typed back. Send everything. Eloise, please. Ruby sobbed into the phone. I need your help. Someone's been telling the creditors where to find me. I stirred my morning coffee, watching the steam rise. Creditors? What creditors? Don't play dumb, she snapped, then quickly softened her tone. Sorry, I'm just stressed. Could you maybe loan me a little more, just until things settle down? How much is a little, Ruby? 50,000? Her voice went small, practice, the same voice she'd used on our parents countless times. I'll pay you back double, triple. My sponsorship deals are about to. Like you paid back the 30,000? Silence. Ruby? That money went to the house, she said quickly. You know that. I opened my laptop where Joanna had just sent over Ruby's latest credit card statement. Did it? Because I'm looking at some interesting charges from the day after I transferred it. You're tracking my spending? The fake tears vanished from her voice. That's illegal. Actually, it's not. You signed the paperwork yourself, remember? More silence then. Does Mom know about this? Does Dad? There it was, the trump card she'd always played, family loyalty. Not yet, I said calmly, but Jonah might be interested in seeing these casino charges from last weekend. You wouldn't dare. Her voice turned cold. I'll tell them everything. How you've always been jealous, how you're trying to ruin my life. Go ahead, I cut her off. I'm sure they'd love to hear about the Paris shopping spree too, or should we start with the maxed out credit cards in Dad's name? The line went dead. My phone buzzed immediately with a text from Joanna. Package delivered to your door. Everything we found. You might want to sit down for this one. I retrieved the package, a simple manila envelope, and spread its contents across my kitchen table. Bank statements, credit card bills, loan applications, GPS logs. But what caught my eye was a single document with a government letterhead. Oh, Ruby, I whispered, what did you do? My phone rang again. This time it was Jonah. I found her secret account, he said without preamble. The one she opened the day after your transfer. Eloise, there's nothing left. I know. No, you don't understand. There's nothing left anywhere. Our savings, the kids' college funds, everything. She's emptied it all. I looked at the government document again. Jonah, when was the last time you checked your credit score? His sharp intake of breath told me everything. Why? Because I'm looking at 6 loan applications in your name, all approved, all maxed out. But I never, he stopped. She forged my signature? Among other things. I shuffled through the papers. Want to know where your kids' college funds really went? Tell me. First-class tickets to Dubai, designer shopping sprees, 5-star hotels, all while you were working overtime to make ends meet. The silence on his end was deafening. Jonah, send me everything, he said quietly. Every document, every receipt, every lie. Are you sure? Once this starts? Send it. After hanging up, I checked my alerts. Ruby was at a luxury spa right now, probably trying to relax away her problems with my money. A text from my mother popped up. Ruby says you're being difficult about a small loan. Really, Eloise, after everything she's done for the family? I started typing a response, then deleted it. Let them keep believing in their perfect daughter, for now. My doorbell rang. It was Joanna holding another file. Found these this morning, she said, spreading out more documents. Looks like Ruby's been running a little Ponzi scheme with her influencer followers, taking investments for fake products, using new money to pay off old investors. I picked up a complaint filed with the FBI's Financial Crimes Unit. How many people? Hundreds, mostly young women who followed her lifestyle posts. Total damages around $2 million. My phone lit up with another call from Ruby, ignored. What's your plan? Joanna asked. I gathered all the evidence into one folder. We wait. For what? Right on cue, my phone buzzed with a text from Jonah. Just found her hidden account. What do I do? I smiled, thinking of all the birthdays, all the family dinners, all the times I'd been told to be more like my perfect sister. We wait for them to realize that perfect people often cast the darkest shadows. The knock on my door came at midnight. Jonah stood there clutching a shopping bag full of unopened bills. Found these in her desk, he said, pushing past me into the apartment, all addressed to Ruby, all marked final notice. He dumped the contents onto my coffee table. Some are from 2 years ago. I picked up one of the envelopes. Credit card bill, $47,000 past due. Have you opened them? Didn't need to. He pulled out his phone. Because I found these. He played a voicemail. This message is for Ruby James Wilcox regarding the defaulted business loan. Legal action will commence. There's more, he said, swiping through messages. Dozens more. From banks, credit cards, private lenders, even some of her followers demanding their investment money back. I walked to my study and returned with my laptop. Then it's time you saw everything. For the next hour, I showed him the complete trail, the compiled financial records, the secret accounts, the forged documents, the Instagram posts bragging about luxury purchases while their children's school fees went unpaid. Here's her location history, I said, pulling up a map. See this? While you were working double shifts last month, she was at a 5-star resort in Miami with Cecilia. Jonah's face went pale. The weekend she said she was visiting her sick aunt? The aunt she doesn't have? Yes. He stood up suddenly, pacing my living room. I have to tell someone. The police. Already know, I said, showing him the FBI complaints. Your wife isn't just a shopaholic, Jonah. She's running a pyramid scheme through her social media. The house deposit was gone before the ink dried on the transfer. He collapsed back onto my couch. Why are you showing me this now? Because you needed to see it yourself. Would you have believed me otherwise? He shook his head slowly. What do I do? I opened my email and typed our parents' address. First, we show them the truth. Your parents? They'll never believe it. They will when they see this. I attached the complete file, every receipt, every lie, every secret account. Added a simple message, time to wake up. Hit send. My phone rang almost immediately. Mother's number. I let it go to voicemail. Eloise. Her voice trembled through the speaker. I think we made a mistake. Please come over. Jonah was already grabbing his coat. I need to get the kids, get them somewhere safe before. Go, I said. I'll handle the fallout. After he left, I listened to the stream of voicemails flooding in. My father, uncharacteristically quiet. Please call us. My mother, increasingly desperate. This can't be right. There must be some mistake. Ruby, furious. What have you done? You've ruined everything. I drove to their house slowly, rehearsing what I'd say. But when my mother opened the door, mascara streaking her cheeks, words weren't necessary. Is it true? She whispered. I handed her my phone, open to Ruby's secret Instagram account. Photos of her living it up in Paris while begging for the house deposit. Videos of her bragging about scamming her followers. There's more, I said, pulling out a USB drive. Every transaction, every lie, even the credit card she took out in Dad's name. My father appeared behind her, looking older than I'd ever seen him. Why didn't you tell us sooner? Would you have believed me? Over her? They led me to the living room where Ruby's perfect family photos still lined the walls. My mother's hands shook as she plugged the USB into their laptop. Oh, God, she gasped, scrolling through the evidence. The children's college funds. Gone, I confirmed, along with everything else. My phone buzzed. A text from Jonah. Kids are safe at my brother's, filing for separation tomorrow. Another buzz. Ruby again. You think you've won? Wait until I tell them about you. How you set me up. How you've always been jealous. I blocked her number. What do we do? My mother asked, still staring at the screen. Nothing, I said. It's already done. The FBI is investigating the investment scam. The banks are freezing accounts. Jonah's leaving. But she's our daughter, my father protested weakly. And what am I? The question hung in the air, heavy with 35 years of favoritism and blind eyes. My mother reached for my hand. Eloise. We didn't know. You didn't want to know, I corrected her, standing up. There's a difference. I left them there, surrounded by the evidence of their perfect daughter's perfect lies. As I drove home, my phone lit up with one final text from Jonah. Thank you for showing me the truth. I smiled, thinking of Ruby's empty throne, finally toppled by her own lies. Sometimes the best revenge isn't destruction, it's illumination. You planned all this, my mother said quietly. We sat in their kitchen a week later, the morning light casting long shadows across the granite countertops. From the very beginning, I stirred my tea, watching the leaves swirl. No, I just stopped protecting you from the truth. But the tracking, the evidence. She pushed away her untouched coffee. You must have known what she was doing. I suspected. Ruby's never been as clever as she thinks. My father joined us, looking haggard. The FBI had visited yesterday, asking questions about Ruby's social media investment scheme. The investigators say it could be federal charges. $2 million is a lot of money to steal, I said. Borrow. My mother corrected automatically, then caught herself. Old habits die hard. My phone buzzed. A message from Joanna. Ruby just tried to board a flight to Dubai. Airport security stopped her. She's running? My father asked, seeing my expression. Trying to. I showed them the text. She won't get far. My mother's hands trembled as she reached for her coffee. I keep thinking, all those times she needed money, all those emergencies, were any of them real? Does it matter now? Of course it matters, she snapped. We gave her everything, defended her against everyone, even you. Her voice broke, especially you. The doorbell rang. Jonah stood there with his 2 children, looking uncertain. The kids wanted to say goodbye, he said, before we move. My mother rushed to hug her grandchildren while my father stood awkwardly by the stairs. These might be the last moments they'd have together for a long time. Where will you go? I asked Jonah quietly. My brother's place in Seattle? Fresh start. He handed me an envelope. The lawyers found more accounts. She was stealing from her followers right until the end. Inside were screenshots of Ruby's private messages to her victims. Young women who'd trusted her, invested their savings in her fake products, believed in her perfect life. I've been getting calls, my mother said, still holding her grandchildren, from these girls' parents. They trusted her, like we did. My phone lit up with another alert. Ruby had just posted on her main Instagram account, "The truth about my toxic family, live in 10 minutes. Let her talk, I said, seeing their panic. Nobody's listening anymore. Jonah gathered the children, making promises about video calls and summer visits. After they left, my mother turned to me. You could have exposed her years ago. Why now? I thought about the house deposit, the final straw in a lifetime of exploitation, because sometimes people need to lose everything to see what they had. And what did we have, Eloise? My father asked. A daughter who lied to us, or a daughter we refused to see? Both, I said simply. My phone buzzed again. Ruby's Instagram Live had started. I connected it to their TV, letting them watch their perfect daughter's mask finally crack. They're trying to destroy me, Ruby sobbed to her dwindling followers. My own sister, so jealous she set me up. My husband stealing my children, my toxic parents. I turned it off. She'll keep lying until there's no one left to lie to. You? My mother hesitated. You have proof of everything? I pulled out my laptop, showing them the complete timeline, every transaction, every fake investment, every stolen moment of their misplaced trust. The house deposit was just the beginning, I explained. She's been running cons for years. The influencer lifestyle, the perfect marriage, even her charity work. It was all fake. My father's face crumpled. We enabled this, didn't we? You believed what you wanted to believe. My mother reached for my hand. And you? What did you believe all these years? That someday you'd see her for who she really was, or see me for who I wasn't. Their silence spoke volumes. My phone rang. Jonah again. The FBI wants to talk to Ruby's parents. They're building their case. I looked at my parents, seeing the weight of their choices finally settling on their shoulders. They'll cooperate. After ending the call, I stood to leave. My mother grabbed my arm. Eloise, she whispered, you planned all this. I thought about Ruby's tears always on cue, her manipulations always perfectly timed, her lies always carefully crafted. No, Mom, I said gently. Ruby planned this. Every choice, every lie, every stolen dollar. I just showed you the receipts. As I walked to my car, another notification popped up. Ruby's Instagram Live had ended abruptly, probably as the FBI arrived at her door. Sometimes revenge isn't about destruction. Sometimes it's about revelation. The Instagram notification made me pause mid-sip of my morning coffee. Ruby's account has been deactivated. My phone immediately lit up with texts. Joanna, it's done. FBI sees everything. Jonah, the kids are settling in well. They asked about their mom once, just once. And finally, my mother. Can we come over, please? I texted back a simple yes and waited. 20 minutes later, my parents arrived carrying a familiar-looking box. We found these, my mother said, placing it on my kitchen counter while cleaning out Ruby's old room. Inside were photos, cards, and certificates, but not Ruby's. They were mine. Academic awards, I thought, lost. Pictures of achievements they'd never acknowledge. Birthday cards they'd never seemed to read. You kept them? I asked. Ruby did, my father said quietly, in her closet, hidden behind her things. My mother pulled out a crumpled newspaper clipping, my first promotion at the finance firm. She kept everything you accomplished, everything we overlooked. Why? The FBI agent explained it, my father said. She needed to track you, to know what you were doing, how successful you were becoming, so she could. He trailed off. Stay ahead, I finished for him. Keep being the perfect daughter. My phone buzzed. A news alert. Social media influencer charged in multi-million-dollar investment fraud. My mother flinched at the headline. They're calling her the Instagram swindler now. Better than perfect daughter, I said. My father reached into his pocket and pulled out a check. It's not much, nothing compared to what you lost, but it's everything we have in our retirement account. I pushed it back across the table. Keep it, you'll need it. But the house deposit was a lesson, I interrupted, for all of us. My phone lit up again, a message from an unknown number. This is Detective Morrison. Your sister's asking to speak with you. I showed my parents the text. They waited, watching me. No, I typed back. My mother touched my arm. She's still your sister. No, I said firmly. She's your cautionary tale. The doorbell rang. It was Joanna carrying files. Sorry to interrupt, but you need to see this. She spread documents across my kitchen counter, loan applications, bank statements, and a letter marked bankruptcy notice. Ruby's applying for bankruptcy protection, Joanna explained. She needs a family member to co-sign, claiming emotional distress and manipulation. My mother reached for the papers, but I stopped her. Don't, I said. This is what she does, one last play for sympathy. But if we don't help, then she'll finally face consequences, I finished, like everyone else. I took the bankruptcy notice and ripped it in half, then quarters, then eighths. The sound of tearing paper echoed in my quiet kitchen. My father cleared his throat. The FBI agent said she kept records of everything, every person she scammed, every lie she told, even had a spreadsheet of times she manipulated us against you. Of course she did, I said. Perfect crimes require perfect bookkeeping. My phone buzzed one final time. A video message from Jonah. His kids playing in their new backyard, laughing, free. We failed you, my mother whispered. All these years, we failed you. I looked at the torn bankruptcy notice, at the box of my hidden achievements, at the parents who were finally seeing clearly. No, I said, you failed yourselves. I succeeded despite it. Joanna gathered her files. The FBI wants to know if you'll testify. I thought about Ruby's perfect smile, her calculated tears, her weaponized perfection, about all the lives she had ruined chasing an image that was never real. Yes, I said, it's time for a different kind of family loyalty. My parents stood to leave, the weight of decades of willful blindness visible in their shoulders. My mother paused at the door. What happens now? She asked. I looked at my phone, at the final text from Detective Morrison. Your sister confessed to everything, said she did it to maintain expectations. Now, I said, we live in truth, however uncomfortable it might be. After they left, I opened my banking app. My savings account balance glowed back at me, untouched, protected, mine. No more family emergencies, no more perfect daughters, perfect needs. Sometimes karma isn't about revenge. Sometimes it's about balance. I deleted Ruby's contact from my phone and blocked the prison's number preemptively. Then I texted Jonah, tell the kids their aunt sends her love. Because sometimes family isn't about blood, it's about truth. And truth, unlike perfection, never needs to pretend.
The night my family stole my future, my mother served pot roast. I remember because the meat was tough and stringy, just like the lies they fed me. The scholarship letter still sat in my purse, crisp and perfect, while my hands shook under the dining room table. My name is Reagan, and this is the story of how I learned that family can be your worst enemy. Reagan, dear, we need to discuss something important, Mum said, cutting her meat with precise, bird-like movements. About your scholarship. I beamed, still riding the high of my acceptance. Full ride to MIT's computer science program. 4 years of perfect grades, countless sleepless nights coding, and endless academic competitions had finally paid off. I know, I can't wait to... Abel needs it more than you do. The words hit like a slap. I looked at my brother, slumped in his chair, pushing food around his plate. He couldn't even meet my eyes. What? My voice came out small, childlike. Dad cleared his throat. Your mother and I have been discussing this. Abel's startup ideas need proper credentials behind them. As the man of the family, he'll have more responsibilities. But I earned it, I whispered. My grades, my work. Oh, honey. Mum's smile was saccharine sweet. You're so smart, you'll figure something else out. Community college is always an option. Besides, you'll probably just get married in a few years anyway. The room started spinning. Abel barely passed high school. He dropped out of community college twice. Watch your tone, Dad warned. Abel finally spoke up. Come on, sis. You know I need this. My ideas could really take off with the right degree backing them. Your ideas, I laughed, harsh and hollow. You mean like the app concept you stole from my journal last year? The one you pitched at that tech meetup as your own? Mum's fork clattered against her plate. That's enough. We've already spoken to the university. The scholarship transfer papers just need your signature. You what? The words came out as a whisper. It's all arranged, Dad said. The dean understands our situation. Family comes first, Reagan. I stood up so fast my chair toppled backward. Family? Is that what you call this? Sit down, Mum hissed. You're being dramatic. Dramatic? My voice rose. I worked my ass off for that scholarship. 4 years of perfect grades while Abel played video games. 3 different coding competitions I won while he copied my homework. And now you're just giving it to him? Language, Mum snapped. This attitude is exactly why... Why what? Why I don't deserve what I earned? Because I'm not your precious son? Abel at least had the decency to look uncomfortable. Sis, come on. I grabbed my purse and headed for the door. Mum called after me. The papers need to be signed by Friday. I turned back one last time. You know what? I'll sign them. But remember this moment. Remember exactly what you did here. Where are you going? Dad demanded. To figure something else out. Isn't that what smart girls do? I slammed the door so hard the windows rattled. In my car, I pulled out the acceptance letter, tracing the MIT letterhead with trembling fingers. Then I started the engine and drove away from everything I'd ever known. The next morning, I walked into the dean's office wearing yesterday's clothes and signed away my scholarship. The dean, an older man with kind eyes, looked at me with pity. Are you sure about this, Miss Jackson? Your application was exceptional. I thought about Mum's smug smile, Dad's dismissal, Abel's entitled slouch. No choice, sir. Family comes first, right? He frowned. There are other options we could discuss. No. I stood up, shoulders straight. But I'd like to keep my acceptance letter, if that's okay. As a reminder. Of what? I smiled, and it felt like baring teeth. That sometimes the long way around is the only way forward. Walking out of that office, I had nothing but my car, $200 in savings, and a burning rage in my chest that felt like it could power a small city. I didn't know then that rage would fuel an empire. I didn't know I'd spend the next 8 years plotting the perfect revenge. I just knew I'd never let anyone steal what was mine again. My phone buzzed, Mum calling. I declined and blocked the number. Then Abel's name popped up. Don't be stupid. Just come home. I typed back 3 words. Watch me succeed. Then I blocked him too, started my car and drove toward the unknown. I didn't have a plan. Just rage. And sometimes that's enough. Living in your car isn't as romantic as movies make it seem. After 2 weeks of parking lot hopping and showering at the gym, I learned that rock bottom has a basement, and I was living in it. Miss, you can't sleep here. The security guard tapped on my window at 3 a.m. 3rd time this week. I'm going to have to call the cops. I started the engine, trying to hide my laptop, where I'd been studying coding tutorials on borrowed Wi-Fi. Sorry, just leaving. That night, I ended up in a 24-hour diner, nursing the cheapest coffee on the menu while teaching myself Python. The waitress, Maria, kept my cup full without asking questions. Tech conference starting across the street tomorrow, she mentioned, sliding me a free plate of fries. Lots of fancy people talking about computers and stuff. Sounds like your thing. I glanced at my reflection in the window. Unwashed hair, dark circles, wrinkled clothes. Not exactly dressed for success. Maria disappeared into the back and returned with a garment bag. My daughter's interview suit. She got the job, doesn't need it anymore. It's yours if you want it. The suit was navy blue and slightly too big, but it was the nicest thing I'd owned in weeks. The next morning, I walked into that conference like I belonged there, swiping an unused name badge from the registration table. That's where I met Ariel. She caught me stuffing conference snacks into my purse during a break between sessions. Instead of calling security, she laughed. Smart. The chicken wraps are better than the sandwiches, though. She handed me her own wrapped lunch. I'm Ariel, and you're definitely not Sandra from Microsoft. She pointed at my stolen badge. I froze. I can explain. No need. I crashed my first 3 conferences too. But you might want to know that Sandra is actually a 60-year-old man who's speaking in 10 minutes. We both laughed, and something in my chest loosened for the first time in weeks. So, she said, tell me what you really do. I told her everything, the scholarship, the betrayal, my determination to make it on my own. She listened without interrupting, then pulled out her business card. I need a technical consultant for my startup. Someone hungry, someone with something to prove. Interested? It wasn't MIT, but it was a start. Within months, I had my own apartment and a growing client list. Ariel taught me the business side while I handled the technical work. We made a good team. Then came the billboard. I was driving to a client meeting when I saw it, Abel's smiling face plastered 40 feet high. Revolutionary AI Solutions by Abel Jackson, MIT graduate. Below that, funded by Thompson Ventures. I pulled over, hands shaking on the steering wheel. The degree that should have been mine, the investors who should have been funding my ideas. My phone buzzed. Ariel calling. Where are you? Client's waiting. I just saw the billboard. Silence. Then, the one with your brother? Yeah. Come to the office, now. I found Ariel in our tiny shared workspace, already pulling up information on her computer. Look at this. Thompson Ventures has a history of bad investments. They're desperate for a win. So they didn't do their due diligence on Abel. His company's built on sand. No real innovation, just buzzwords and promises. She turned to me. You could take them down. How? Build something better, something real. We've got enough clients now to start our own firm. Real solutions, not just consulting. I stared at Abel's face on her screen. They'll never take me seriously without a degree. Screw degrees. You've got something better, actual skill and a reason to succeed. She grinned. Want to make that billboard come down? I thought about Mom's smug smile, Dad's dismissal, Abel stealing my ideas. I want more than that. I want to be the one who brings it down. Then let's get to work. Ariel pulled out a notebook. First, we need a company name. R Key Solutions, I said immediately. R for Reagan, key because we'll unlock what others can't. I like it. Mysterious enough that no one needs to know who's really behind it. Looking at that billboard, I made a vow. I'd build something so big, so undeniable, that when the time came to tear down Abel's house of cards, he'd never see me coming. One more thing, Ariel said, closing her laptop. This revenge thing, it's going to take years. Are you sure you want to spend your life plotting payback? I thought about the acceptance letter, still folded in my wallet. They took years of my life. Seems fair to take some of theirs. Then let's make it count. I made a vow that day. I'd make sure that billboard came down someday, with him under it. 3 years passed, like a blur of code, coffee, and calculated moves. Our Key Solutions grew from a tiny consulting firm into a silent powerhouse. We specialized in saving failing tech companies, for a price. Another acquisition offer? Ariel dropped a folder on my desk. That's the 3rd this month. I barely looked up from my screens, where I was tracking Abel's company's stock performance. Not interested? It's from Felix Delgado. That got my attention. Felix ran one of the biggest tech firms on the West Coast. What does he want? To meet. Says he's intrigued by the ghost in the machine. Ariel raised an eyebrow. Apparently that's you. I'd kept my identity hidden, running R-Key through layers of shell companies and proxies. The media called me everything from the Phantom CEO to Ms. R. Only Ariel knew the truth. The meeting with Felix happened at a rooftop restaurant. He was younger than I expected, with sharp eyes and a sharper smile. "So you're the mysterious Ms. R," he said, studying me over his wineglass. Younger than I imagined. Disappointed? Intrigued? You've built quite the reputation. The company that saves companies. He leaned forward. But I notice you follow a pattern. Every firm you rescue has competed with Abel Jackson's AI ventures. My hand tightened on my glass. You've done your homework? I make it my business to know my competition. Question is, why do you make it yours to know his? Maybe I just enjoy watching mediocre men fail. Felix laughed. There's a story there. Care to share? Not particularly. I stood up. If that's all... Wait. He pulled out his phone, showing me a news alert. Abel's company just announced a major AI breakthrough. Stocks soaring. I smiled. Give it a week. 7 days later, Abel's breakthrough was exposed as recycled code with a fancy interface. Their stock plummeted. Felix called immediately. How did you know? Let's just say I'm familiar with his work ethic. Partner with me, he said. Together we could... No thanks. I work alone. Except for Ariel, he noted. And now, maybe, Ruby Parker? My blood ran cold. Ruby was an investigative journalist I'd secretly hired to dig into Abel's investor fraud. I don't know what you're talking about. Come on, Reagan. Yes, I know your real name. The question is, what are you really after? I hung up. Back at the office, Ariel was waiting. Ruby found something. Abel's been faking user numbers, inflating growth metrics. She's ready to publish. Not yet. I pulled up Abel's company website. Look at their new board member. Is that your dad? Philip Jackson, new director of operations. I laughed bitterly. Guess Mom and Dad are all in on Abel's success. Reagan. Ariel's voice was serious. I need to ask you something. What happens when this is all over? When you've taken them down? Who says that's what I'm doing? She gestured at my screens. Dozens of tabs tracking Abel's company, their investors, their vulnerabilities. You're not just trying to win. You're trying to destroy. They destroyed me first. Did they? Look around. She waved at our sleek office, the skyline view. You've built something amazing here. Is revenge worth risking it all? My phone buzzed. A text from Felix. Watched your brother's latest investor pitch. He took credit for an AI model that looks suspiciously like one you designed last year. Another buzz. Ruby. Found proof of major investor fraud. When do we pull the trigger? Final buzz. A news alert. Abel Jackson announces expansion plans. Claims revolutionary new AI technology coming soon. I thought about the acceptance letter, still in my wallet after all these years. About Mum's dismissal, Dad's silence, Abel's theft. It's not about revenge anymore, I told Ariel. It's about justice. There's a difference? Revenge is what they did to me, taking something I earned because they could. Justice is exposing them for what they really are. Ariel sighed. And what about Felix? He knows too much. Felix wants what everyone wants, to be on the winning side. I pulled up our company's acquisition records. And soon he'll have to choose a side. When? I clicked on Abel's company stock performance, a downward trend disguised by creative accounting. Their quarterly report drops next month. That's when we move. And Ruby's article? Hold it. We wait until they're desperate, until they need a saviour. I smiled. Then Ms. R offers to buy their failing company. They won't know it's you. Not until it's too late. My phone buzzed again. Felix. Whatever you're planning, I want in. I typed back, stay tuned. Looking at Abel's company website, at his smiling face next to our father's, I felt that familiar fire in my chest. They were circling the drain, and I was the one plugging every hole they could find. Soon, they'd be begging for a lifeline, and I'd be there, ready to watch them drown. Memory is a funny thing. Watching Abel's company implode brought back a flood of them. Like the day he stole my first real breakthrough in high school. I was 16, coding late into the night, when I finally cracked it, an algorithm that could predict music preferences better than anything on the market. Abel found my notebook on the kitchen table. Mum, Dad, he'd shouted the next morning. I figured out how to make the perfect playlist app. I can still see Mum's proud smile, Dad's enthusiastic pat on his back. When I tried to speak up, Mum shushed me. Don't be jealous of your brother's creativity, dear. Now, 7 years later, I watched through my office window as Abel gave another disastrous press conference. Our AI platform is experiencing temporary setbacks, he stammered on the live stream. Investors in the audience shifted uncomfortably. Ariel brought in coffee, smirking. Temporary setbacks? Is that what we're calling complete system failure now? His entire neural network crashed during the demo, I said, rewinding the footage. Look at Dad's face in the background. Our father stood behind Abel, ashen-faced, probably remembering all the money they'd poured into this venture. Money that could have paid for my education 10 times over. My phone buzzed. Felix calling. Your brother's stock just dropped 30%. I saw. Your competing AI system launches next week. What a coincidence. He chuckled. You're evil, you know that? No, I corrected. I'm thorough. After hanging up, I pulled up the code for our new AI platform. The one I'd been perfecting for 3 years. The one that actually worked. Ariel leaned over my shoulder. Remember when he tried to steal this too? I did. 6 months ago, Abel had sent a corporate spy to try recruiting one of our developers. Instead, we fed them dummy code that would fall apart under testing. The resulting disaster cost Abel 3 major investors. Ms. R? My assistant's voice came through the intercom. Ruby Parker is here. Ruby walked in, manila envelope in hand. You're going to want to see this? Inside were photos. Abel meeting with suspicious investors in underground parking lots. Dad shredding documents late at night. Bank statements showing massive discrepancies. They're desperate, Ruby said. Word is, they're looking for a buyout. I spread the photos across my desk. How'd you get these? Your brother's ex-assistant got chatty after they fired her. She had quite the photo collection on her phone. Ruby smiled. Amazing what people will share when they're angry. My phone lit up with a news alert. Major investors pull out of Jackson AI Ventures following failed demonstration. Then another. Industry sources suggest Jackson AI seeking emergency buyout. And another. Anonymous tech giant rumoured to be considering acquisition. Ariel raised an eyebrow. Anonymous tech giant? Felix is doing, I said. He's spreading the rumours for us. Why is he helping? Because he knows which way the wind is blowing. I pulled up our company's latest valuation. Billions. All earned legitimately. And he wants to be on the winning side. Ruby gathered her photos. When do you want me to publish? Not yet. Let them sweat. I looked at Abel's company logo, a stolen design like everything else he'd ever claimed. First, let's see them beg. My phone buzzed again. A text from Felix. Your father's trying to reach me, wants to discuss potential investment options. I thought about Dad, who always said Abel needed more help, more support, more chances, who watched silently as they stole my future. Tell him you'll pass his message to Ms. R, I texted back. Evil, Felix replied with a laughing emoji. Ariel picked up one of Ruby's photos, Abel looking desperate in a dark parking garage. You know what this reminds me of? That time in high school when he stole your science project idea. The solar panel design. Yeah, he failed spectacularly trying to present it because he didn't understand the basic principles. Just like now, history repeating itself, but this time with billions at stake. My phone lit up with an email notification. From Mum to my old account I kept just for monitoring them. Dear Reagan, I know we've had our differences, but Abel could really use his sister's support right now. Family should stick together. I laughed so hard Ruby and Ariel jumped. What's funny? Ariel asked. I showed them the email. 7 years of silence, and this is what brings her out? Abel failing? What are you going to reply? I deleted the email. Nothing. Let them wonder. Let them worry. I turned back to my screens, where Abel's company stock continued its death spiral. They're circling the drain, and I'm the one plugging every hole they could find. Soon, they'd be desperate enough to meet with the mysterious Ms. R. And then I'd show them exactly what their forgotten daughter had become. The email from Abel's company arrived exactly when I predicted it would, 3 days after their stock hit rock bottom. Dear Ms. R, Ariel read aloud, perched on my office couch. We're reaching out to discuss potential strategic partnerships. Strategic partnerships, I snorted. That's corporate speak for, please save us. Should I set up the meeting? I swiveled in my chair, looking at the city skyline. Not yet. Wait for the second email, the desperate one. It came 4 hours later, this time from my father's personal address. Dear Ms. R, he wrote, our situation is increasingly urgent. We would be willing to discuss extremely favourable terms. Ariel whistled. Extremely favourable terms? They must be bleeding cash. Oh, they are. I pulled up their financial records, the real ones Ruby had uncovered. They've got maybe 2 weeks before complete collapse. My phone buzzed. Felix. Your family's getting sloppy. Your brother just tried to offer me shares in exchange for a cash injection. What did you say? Told him to talk to Ms. R. He nearly cried. I smiled. Set up the meeting, Ariel, 1 week from today. Here? No. I thought for a moment. The Metropolitan Hotel, penthouse conference room. Let's make them sweat in luxury. The week crawled by. Ruby's investigation was ready to go live at a moment's notice. Felix kept feeding me intel about Abel's increasingly desperate attempts to save his company. Mum sent 3 more emails to my old account, each more plaintive than the last. The morning of the meeting, Ariel found me staring at my closet. Wear the black Armani, she said. Nothing says I own you like a $10,000 suit. I slipped into the suit, applied careful makeup, pulled my hair into a severe bun. The woman in the mirror looked nothing like the girl who'd slept in her car all those years ago. The lawyers are ready, Ariel reported. Ruby's article is queued up. Felix is standing by to swoop in on any loose assets. And the conference room, temperature set to 68 degrees, just cold enough to be uncomfortable. Water glasses will be empty. Making them ask for water is a nice power play. I checked my phone. A text from Felix. Break their hearts, darling. The Metropolitan's penthouse suite offered a stunning view of the city. I positioned my chair facing away from the door, toward the windows. A power move as old as business itself. They're here, Ariel announced through my earpiece. Make them wait 10 minutes. Those 10 minutes must have felt like hours to them. When I finally gave the signal, I heard them file in. The shuffle of expensive shoes, the scrape of chairs. Thank you for meeting with us, Ms. R. My father's voice, older than I remembered. We appreciate your time. We've prepared a complete overview of our company's position, Abel added, trying to sound confident. And we're sure we can come to a mutually beneficial arrangement, Mom chimed in, her social climber voice in full effect. I kept staring out the window. Your company is worth exactly $27 million, not the $200 million you've been claiming. Silence. That's absurd, Abel sputtered. Our AI technology alone is defunct. Your neural network has fundamental flaws in its architecture. Your user numbers are inflated. Your primary investors are pulling out. I swiveled slowly. And you have exactly 13 days before your loans default. More silence. I watched their faces. Abel's panic, Dad's resignation, Mum's growing horror. How do you know all this? Mum demanded. I smiled. I make it my business to know things, Mrs. Jackson. Dad leaned forward. Whatever you've heard, we can explain. The fraudulent investor reports, the embezzled development funds, the stolen code. I laid out Ruby's photos one by one. Please explain. Abel's face went white. Those are confidential. Nothing is confidential from me. I stood up. Here's my offer. I'll buy your company for $27 million. You sign over all assets, patents, and intellectual property. You admit to the fraud publicly, or what? Mum's voice shook. Or I walk away and let Ruby Parker's exposé run tomorrow morning. Your choice. You're blackmailing us, Abel said. No. I pressed a button, and my company's real financial records projected on the wall. Billions in legitimate assets. I'm offering you a chance you don't deserve. My phone buzzed. Felix. Are you actually going to do it? Are you going to let them drown? I looked at my family, the people who had stolen my dreams and were now begging for salvation. They still hadn't recognized me, still hadn't seen what their forgotten daughter had become. You have 1 hour to decide, I said, turning back to the window. Choose wisely. Behind me, I heard Mom start to cry. 58 minutes into their hour, Abel broke the silence. We'll take the deal. No, I said, still facing the window. First, I want to hear you admit what you did. What we did? Mum's voice rose. We don't even know you. I turned slowly, savouring the moment. Are you sure about that? They stared at me, confusion slowly morphing into recognition. Dad's face went ash grey. Mum's hand flew to her throat. Abel's mouth opened and closed like a dying fish. Reagan? He whispered. I smiled. Hello, brother dear. Mum. Dad. Been a while. Mum stood up so fast her chair toppled. This is impossible. You disappeared. I didn't disappear. I succeeded. Despite you. Despite everything you did to stop me. We were trying to help you, Dad started. Help me? I slammed my hand on the table. You stole my scholarship. You gave it to him. I pointed at Abel. And look what he did with it. Built a company on lies and fraud, just like everything else he's ever done. That's not fair, Abel protested. Not fair? I laughed. Let's talk about fair. Let's talk about how you stole my code in high school. My ideas, my future. And now? I gestured at the damning photos. You're still stealing. Still failing. Reagan, honey. Mum tried her soothing voice. We're family. Family? I pressed another button. A recording played. Abel's voice from 7 years ago. Come on, sis. You know I need this. My ideas could really take off. I stopped the playback. Family doesn't steal from family. What do you want? Dad asked quietly. I told you. Public admission of fraud. Full transfer of assets and... I paused. An apology. Not in private. In front of the press. You can't be serious, Mum gasped. Deadly serious. You have... I checked my watch. 90 seconds to decide. Abel jumped up. This is blackmail. No, dear brother. This is karma. I pulled out my phone. Ruby's article goes live in 60 seconds. Unless... We'll lose everything, Dad said. Like, I lost everything? I showed them my old acceptance letter, worn and creased. Remember this? Remember telling me I'd figure something else out? Mum started crying. We thought we were doing what was best. Best for who? I demanded. For Abel. Look how well that turned out. For the family name? It's about to be dragged through the mud, anyway. 30 seconds, Ariel announced from the doorway. Abel slumped in his chair. What's the point of all this? You've already won. Won. I leaned forward. I didn't want to win. I wanted you to understand what it feels like to have everything you worked for taken away. Please, Dad whispered. We're begging you. Like I begged you? I stood up. 10 seconds. Mum grabbed my arm. Reagan, wait. 5 seconds. I'm sorry, Abel shouted. Is that what you want to hear? I'm sorry I took your scholarship. I'm sorry I stole your ideas. I'm sorry I was a terrible brother. I held up my phone, finger hovering over the screen. Dad? He nodded slowly. I'm sorry we failed you. Mum? She just sobbed. Not good enough. I started to press the button. I'm sorry, she burst out. I'm sorry I didn't believe in you. I'm sorry I thought you were worth less than your brother. I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. I looked at Ariel, who nodded. The words we'd waited 7 years to hear. The press conference is tomorrow at 9, I said. You'll admit everything. The fraud, the stolen scholarship, all of it. Sign these papers now. They signed with trembling hands. Reagan, Abel said as they stood to leave, for what it's worth, you would have done amazing things at MIT. I did amazing things anyway, I smiled coldly. No thanks to any of you. After they left, Ariel brought in champagne. Feel better? I watched my family shuffle into their waiting car, shoulders slumped in defeat. Ask me tomorrow. My phone buzzed. Felix. Just saw the signed papers. You actually did it. Drinks later? Then Ruby. Press conference set up. This story's going to be explosive. Finally, a news alert. Breaking. Jackson AI ventures to make major announcement tomorrow. Sources suggest leadership shake-up. I touched the acceptance letter in my pocket. 7 years of waiting, planning, building an empire just to bring them to their knees. You know what's funny? I told Ariel. They still don't get it. They think this is about revenge. Isn't it? No. I looked out at my city, my empire. built from nothing but rage and determination. It's about justice, and tomorrow, everyone will know the difference. The press conference room buzzed with anticipation. I watched from a private viewing area as my family took their seats at the table, looking like prisoners facing execution. Ready for this? Ariel handed me a coffee. I've been ready for 7 years. Felix slipped into the room. Quite the turnout. Every major tech publication is here. Of course they are. I smiled. The mysterious Ms. R finally revealing herself. The downfall of a major AI company. It's catnip for journalists. Ruby appeared on stage, taking her place at the podium. Good morning. Today, the CEO of Jackson AI Ventures will make an announcement, followed by a statement from R Key Solutions founder, known until now only as Ms. R. Abel approached the microphone, sweat visible on his forehead. Good morning. We have a confession to make. He looked toward our private booth. I nodded slowly. Our company's AI technology is fundamentally flawed. We've been falsifying data, misleading investors, and, he swallowed hard, stealing intellectual property. The room erupted. Cameras flashed. Reporters shouted questions. Furthermore, Abel continued, his voice shaking. This pattern of theft began years ago, 7 years ago to be exact, when I accepted a scholarship that wasn't rightfully mine. Mum sobbed quietly in her chair. Dad stared at his hands. That scholarship belonged to my sister Reagan. She earned it, she deserved it, and our family... Abel's voice cracked. Our family stole it from her. The room went dead silent. And now, Ruby took the podium again, a statement from R Key Solutions founder and CEO. I straightened my jacket and walked onto the stage. The camera flashes were blinding. My name is Reagan, I said into the microphone, and yes, I am Ms. R. The room exploded again. I waited for the noise to die down. 7 years ago, my family taught me a valuable lesson about power. They taught me that those who have it can take whatever they want from those who don't. I looked directly at them. So I built my own power. A reporter shot up. Did you orchestrate this entire situation? No, I smiled. They orchestrated their own downfall through fraud and mismanagement. I simply refused to save them from the consequences of their actions. Will R Key Solutions acquire Jackson AI? We'll be purchasing their assets at market value, approximately $27 million, a far cry from their claimed value of $200 million. Another reporter. What happens to your family now? I looked at them. Mum's tears, Dad's shame, Abel's defeat. They get exactly what they gave me 7 years ago. Nothing. The questions came rapid fire after that. I answered each one precisely, watching my family shrink smaller and smaller in their chairs. Finally, Ruby ended the conference. As security escorted the reporters out, Abel approached me. Reagan, please, we can still fix this. Fix what? Your company's dead. Your reputation's ruined. Your investors are already filing lawsuits. I adjusted my cufflinks. Sounds pretty fixed to me. I meant us. Our family. Our family died the night you took my future. I turned to leave, then paused. Oh, and Abel? That app idea you pitched last month? The one about predictive music preferences? I designed that when I was 16. You should have studied the code better before stealing it. Mum tried to reach for me, but security blocked her path. Reagan, baby, please. Goodbye, Mum, Dad. I nodded to each of them. Try community college. I hear it's always an option. Back in my office, Ariel poured champagne, while Felix pulled up the news coverage. Tech world shocked by family betrayal, he read. Rising star Reagan reveals 7-year revenge plot. It wasn't revenge, I corrected, taking a glass. It was justice. Same thing, isn't it? Felix asked. Revenge is what they did, taking something because they could. Justice is exposing the truth. My phone buzzed with messages. Old classmates. We always knew you were the smart one. Former teachers. So proud of what you've become. Tech CEOs. Let's discuss partnerships. And then one from Dad. I understand now. What we did. What we took from you. I'm sorry we couldn't see your worth. I deleted it without responding. Ariel raised her glass. To justice served cold. To karma, Felix added. To the future, I said, looking out at my city. The one I built myself. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of victory. Somewhere across town, my family was facing the ruins of their life, just like I had 7 years ago in a car with nothing but rage and determination. And just like that, I whispered, they were left with exactly what they gave me. Nothing. The champagne tasted like triumph. The morning after the press conference, I found Ruby waiting in my office. Quite a story, she said, dropping a stack of newspapers on my desk. But I don't think it's finished. What do you mean? I mean, what happens next? After the revenge, after the justice, what's the real ending? I stared at the headlines. Tech Queen's perfect revenge. Family betrayal leads to empire. The making of Ms. R. My phone buzzed. Felix. Dinner tonight? We should celebrate properly. Before I could respond, Ariel burst in. You need to see this. She pulled up a video on her tablet. A young woman, maybe 20, standing outside our building with a sandwich delivery bag. I've been trying to get an interview with Ms. R for weeks, the woman was saying to a reporter. I have this app idea, see? But no one will listen because I'm just a delivery girl. The camera zoomed in on her phone, showing complex code that looked surprisingly elegant. That's actually good, Ariel said. Really good, I agreed, studying the algorithm. My office door opened again. Ms. R. My assistant looked nervous. Your father's in the lobby. He won't leave. I sighed. Send him up. Dad looked older than yesterday, more broken. He placed something on my desk, my old journal from high school. Found this while packing up the house, he said quietly. Your mother and I were selling everything to pay back the investors. I opened the journal. Pages of code, dreams, ideas. Some Abel had stolen, others I'd made real on my own. I never read it before, Dad continued. Never really looked at what you were capable of. We were so focused on Abel, on what we thought success should look like. Why are you here? To give you this. He pulled out an envelope. It's my resignation from your company's board. You bought us out fair and square, but... He hesitated. There's something else you should know. What? That girl downstairs with the sandwich delivery, she reminds me of you. Same fire in her eyes. I looked at the video still playing on Ariel's tablet. The girl was still talking, passionate about her code. She's right, you know, Dad said softly. No one's listening to her, just like no one listened to you. He turned to leave, then stopped. We were wrong, Reagan. Not just about the scholarship, about everything. I hope someday you can... He shook his head. Never mind, goodbye. After he left, Ruby picked up my old journal. You know what would make a better ending than revenge? What? Breaking the cycle. My phone buzzed again. Felix. About dinner, and maybe more. You've got to admit, we'd make quite the power couple. I looked at his message, then at the video of the delivery girl, and my old journal full of dreams that no one believed in. Ariel, I said, get that girl up here. She arrived clutching her delivery bag, eyes wide at the office. I'm Sarah. I'm so sorry about the interview. Show me your code, I interrupted. She pulled out her phone, hands shaking. It's a predictive algorithm for emergency response times. See, it factors in traffic patterns, weather, historical data. The code was elegant, innovative, everything Abel's never was. Why delivery jobs, I asked. Couldn't afford college. Parents said tech wasn't for girls. She laughed nervously. But I keep learning anyway. Online courses, coding in my car between deliveries. I caught Ariel's knowing smile, Ruby's raised eyebrow. Sarah, I said, how would you like a scholarship? Her phone slipped from her hands. What? Full ride, any tech school you want, plus a development contract with R-Key for your algorithm. But why? I picked up my old journal. Because 7 years ago, someone stole my chance. I won't let that happen to anyone else. Tears filled her eyes. Really? Really. I handed her a card. Come back tomorrow. We'll get started. After she left, practically floating, Ruby grinned. Now that's an ending. My phone buzzed one last time. Felix still pushing for dinner. I typed back. Not interested in power couples. Too busy building something better. I looked at my old acceptance letter, then at Sarah's algorithm still glowing on her forgotten phone. You know what, Ruby? Write whatever ending you want. Just make sure they know. This was never about destroying my family. What was it about? I smiled, thinking of Sarah's shaking hands and brilliant code, of all the other dreamers out there, waiting for someone to listen. It was about making sure no one else has to build their future from nothing but rage and stolen chances. I picked up my journal, filled with the dreams of a 16-year-old girl who refused to disappear. Sometimes, I said, the best revenge is making sure you're not the last one to succeed.